end of time.
O'clock.
Hey, here we are. We appear to be normal colored again.
Normal color. Yeah.
I'm not really sure why.
We were having a whole discussion of whether or not the colors are going to be normal.
Yeah, well, because remember, if you were here for the Monday night movie review, which was 976 Evil, for some reason we were looked really yellow.
We were yellow, yeah.
And I didn't change anything. I didn't change any of the settings or nothing like that. And then, so today, before the show, I was like, oh, I guess I better check the settings on that. And when I turned it on, I was like, oh, it looks fine.
It looked normal, yeah.
So I don't know what that was all about. But
some kind of error.
I guess so.
Some kind of glitch.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't really know. So that's going to be the yellow episode, I suppose.
It's going to be a good episode tonight. Another serial killer episode. These tend to be pretty popular.
Yeah.
And this is a Florida man.
This is a Florida man. As far as I know, he never did throw an alligator through a Wendy's drive-through window.
Yeah, that's one of the things. You become a Florida man general.
But
you become a one-star general
I'm
Florida
not saying
man.
he didn't.
If you throw an alligator through the drive-through window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real shit. That happens, here in Florida. Or at least it happened once. Yeah.
It did happen one time. It wouldn't shock me if it happened more than once.
Yeah.
But there was that one time.
Gay bums eating each other's faces.
Yeah.
That's another one that happened.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I will note, though, that this dude, whose name is Bobby Joe Long, is not a Florida native. He was actually born in West Virginia.
Yeah,
but he moved here when he was a kid.
Yeah.
When he was 2, I think.
It's like I told you.
So it still counts.
People from all over the South and even the Eastern Seaboard moved down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got New Yorkers here, too.
This dude...
Rich people from New York move here.
This dude, I kind of feel like he has almost all of the serial killer red flags. Notably in head injuries.
Okay.
Wow, he had a bunch of head injuries.
Yeah, it's always multiple head injuries.
Yeah, well, this dude takes the cake.
He
had a whole bunch of them. And he also had, some other medical issues, which CB has already alluded to, saying that he grew tits when he was a teenager. He did indeed. He had Klinefelter syndrome.
Must have been making prolactin.
Which, yeah, it's a dude that has an extra X chromosome. It used to be called XXY.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, sometimes they do grow large breasts when they hit puberty, and there are other kind of developmental difficulties as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have poor motor control. Sometimes they have trouble learning to read. They generally have normal intelligence, but
yeah, dude was a mutant.
A little bit.
He's a mutant. Yeah.
So. And the thing about it is that his upbringing, not great. But, I've heard worse, and the people turned out okay. But I kind of think a combination of all three things, like the Klinefelter syndrome, because he got bullied a lot because of that, and his kind of weird upbringing, and the head injuries, I think really pushed this dude into the stratosphere. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird because I'm from Florida, and this dude... mostly operated in Tampa, which is not that far from us. It's probably an hour and a half west. And I hadn't really heard that much about him. I kind of feel like he's not in the top echelon of serial killers, even though he killed 10 women that they know of, and he raped at least 50 women that they know of. And I suspect that it was probably more than that. So he was a busy boy. Is what I'm saying.
He did all of this in Tampa, or most of it in Tampa?
Most of it in Tampa. All of it in Florida.
Yeah.
But some of it, the rapes were kind of spread out around somewhere Miami, Ocala, which is where my mom lives.
Yeah.
And other places. But all the murders happened in and around the Tampa area.
Tampa's a nice place, man. That's like Party Central.
Yeah, that's where the castle is.
Yeah. Tampa's kind of like Florida's versions of New Orleans. It's almost kind of like going to the French Quarter, but it's nicer. Newer.
They have the best goth club in the United States.
Yeah, best goth club in the United States. They got a lot of nice clubs.
Yeah, in Ybor City.
Yeah, a lot of people that move here from out of state want to live there. because of the clubs and the
Well, and
nightlife.
Tampa even has its own Mardi Gras adjacent thing, which is Gasparilla, which is like Mardi Gras, but it's pirate. It's pirates.
Yeah.
Pirate themed. Because we had a bunch of pirates in Florida, in the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean. That's what that's all about.
Yeah, it's bigger than the French Quarter. It's more grand.
Yeah.
It's got a lot more money going through it.
And every October, we also have the Absolution Festival, Absolution Fest, which is 3 days.
3 days of goth
of
music.
live goth bands.
Yeah.
And they had to cancel it last year because of the hurricane, but they're doing it again this year.
Yeah, what month?
It's October. It's usually the first week of October, like the first weekend in October is usually when it is.
Our boys going to be there?
I think they were.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they canceled though.
Okay.
But it's still like pretty early out because I did the teaser, and I think he sent me like a list of the bands, but like some of them were on and some of them were taken off because like I do all the graphics for it, and it's like as it gets closer and closer, like new ones get added, other ones get we can't do it or something like that. So I have to keep changing them like all the time.
I wouldn't mind seeing Corrine also.
Yeah, they were just they're playing here. Well, they're playing in Tampa. When? I want to say it's April 1st.
They're headlining?
I think
We're
so.
doing something April Fool's though, aren't we?
We're doing something April 2nd. Oh no, I guess we are doing something April 1st.
That's Disney, right?
Yeah, I think we're doing Disney with my mom and my sister.
Okay.
And my brother. I think I have to check again, but I have to check the date of that because I'm not entirely sure that that's when it is. Because I do so many. Because I think maybe I was thinking of Urban Heat because Urban Heat are coming to Tampa also.
Okay.
So I might be getting those dates confused.
Yeah, I'd like to see them.
Yeah, but so that might be April 1st. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I did posters for all of that, and I get all the dates mixed up. You know what I mean? But yeah, so CB said I can see a sexy Smurfette and Tom. Yeah, I figured I hadn't worn this wig in a while. It's kind of poofing out, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. So that's why I keep I'm trying to flatten it out. You know what I mean? Let's see. Yeah, Papa said he got overshadowed by Bundy. I guess like a lot of people got overshadowed by Bundy. And the scary thing is that there's just so many of these motherfuckers that... Holy shit, we were watching a show last night. I ran out of Hometown Homicide and like all of these other... I just go through Max and like go through all the true crime series. And I started this new one called Murder Calls because I was like, that sounds entertaining. And it actually ended up being really good. Like they start out with like a really fucked up like 911 call. And then it's always like a 911 call that's not exactly what you think it is, kind of. Like there's some kind of weird thing about it. And they did one, and I guess this was early 80s, and it was in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And it was this dude, they called him the weepy-voiced killer, right?
I think so. Weepy voice killer.
Weepy voice killer. Because he was this dude, they didn't know he killed anyone at first, but he would like call 911, and he'd be like, I just stabbed a girl with an ice pick. And he sounded like that. He sounded a little bit like Longlegs, actually. That's what I thought. But yeah, and then like later on, they're like, holy shit, he's not kidding, like, because they found a body.
Yeah.
And
I don't know why I did it. I must be sick.
Yeah. Like,
I'm going to kill myself.
And
he kept doing it.
You know, go ahead and do that then.
Yeah.
Too sweet.
He was stabbing him to death with an ice pick, which doesn't do any damage, so you got to stab somebody 200 times, you know.
Yeah, the one victim was stabbed like 106 times or some shit like that. It was horrible.
Yeah.
One woman did survive, but he beat her head with a tire iron. Mm-hmm. She lived, but of course she didn't remember brain damage, and she didn't remember anything.
I think she was the first one, wasn't she?
She was the first one, but they didn't find out about that until later because it was a different jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, shit, I never even heard of that fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they got all his phone calls.
Yeah, but
crying like a bitch after he did it and fucking. But it almost, I was listening to it, it sounded like, I wonder if that's just part of his fucking fantasy.
The more it went on, because they had a bunch of his, because he called a lot.
Because he was definitely getting off on making the phone calls. It sounded like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like super weird.
I think he was kind of like Albert Fish, where he was like sadomasochistic, where they'd like to hurt other people, then he'd hurt himself to atone.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, and you know, so he'd start fucking being all submissive and shit over the phone, but he would turn himself in, didn't kill himself.
That's what I mean. It's like, well, you can't feel that bad about it.
Yeah.
Because you keep saying you're going to unalive yourself, or you know, why don't you just turn yourself in then if you're so scared you're going to kill people?
Yeah. He eventually got caught.
He didn't want to. He did get caught eventually. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, I mean, I brought that up just to say that I watch a lot of true crime shit, and it's like every day I'm hearing about cases. I'm like, well, never heard of this motherfucker before.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know there's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people in the United States, so it's very rare that you'll encounter one. But just the fact that you never run out of them, like there's always ones that you haven't heard about, is really pretty scary to me. And I'm sure that there's a lot of them like running around too still that they haven't caught.
There's some of them you'll never hear about because they get caught on their first one.
Well, yeah, that's another. Well, that's kind of alarming too. It's like if they didn't get caught, they just keep going. You know what I mean?
Most of them get caught on their first one, so they never really become serial killers. You got to kill at least 3 before they call you a serial killer.
Yeah, which this shepherd here, I don't know how he didn't get caught earlier before he started killing people, because he was a very prolific rapist before he started killing people.
This was the 80s, so I think it was a different time.
Yeah, it was mid 80s.
Yeah.
So
DNA
no
technology
DNA.
wasn't there. They didn't have any kind of DNA database to go
True.
through. I think in the 80s, a lot of rapes weren't reported.
Yeah, well, even now they're not.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're wildly underreported.
Yeah, I think the woman just goes, "Well, it's over. I'm done with that."
Well, it's not so much that. It's like they know that it's might not get taken seriously, or they're going to get dragged through the ringer again, or they're going to have to go in court and get. It's like, well, what were you wearing, and all that kind of crap. So it's like a lot of women are like, "Fuck that shit. I'm not doing it." So
at least they should tell the police it happened, though.
I get it, but it's I mean, if it happened to me, I would, but I can understand why people don't. Like, I don't get up in people's case about that because everybody has their own thing. So, you know, I've known people that it happened to. Well, I would too, but that's just the kind of motherfucker I am.
Yeah.
And, but I've known people that happened to, and they're just like, I didn't even bother because it's like, I knew they wouldn't do anything about it. And, you know, and that's totally legit because it's like, you're probably right, sadly. So I can understand not wanting to be re-traumatized, you know? So I get it. So, but I kind of feel like this dude, he did 50 rapes that they know of. And I've even heard some estimates go as high as 150. Because he was doing it for a long time. Like, maybe a decade. Because they didn't actually realize... Because what ended up happening was that there's this rapist going... They called him the classified ad rapist. Which we'll get into why that is, like, shortly. But he was doing that... and like around different cities in Florida, and they knew he was doing that, but they couldn't catch him. But then, like, when the murders started in Tampa in 1984, they initially did not link the two series at all. Like, they didn't find out until later on, oh, this is the same dude.
Yeah, what's funny is that when you see the dude, he's the kind of dude that, you know, if he was in a crowd, your eyes would pass right over him.
Yeah, he just looks completely nondescript.
Yeah, he's very invisible. And then if somebody pointed him out, let's say somebody pointed him out to you, you just go, that dude? You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, they said, look at that dude. Yeah, fuck that dude. There's just nothing striking about him at all.
Well, I think, like we were saying...
Very nondescript.
Like we were saying before about that other shithead that we did the show about, it's like sometimes... when they don't look like anything, that helps them get away with shit for so because they just look like a normal regular person. Although I'm like, that's kind of what a rapist looks like.
Yeah,
to me, he looks like a regular ass person.
He looked like, what was his name, Walter Mitty. He looked like like a real beta Walter Mitty with a mustache and just look like just, you know, kind of harmless and somebody you really wouldn't take seriously as a threat, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
which I guess is maybe that's how he got away with it.
That's what I mean. I mean, if it was me, like I said, and I'm not victim blaming or nothing like that, but it's like, I don't care what the fucking dude looks like. I consider all dudes a threat until I know who they are. You know what I mean? So, unless they're small enough that I can, like, stomp on them, which most dudes are not.
Yeah.
So, I just, you know, I don't know. But the thing about it is that when he was doing, now, not the rapes, but when he was doing the murders... He mostly targeted sex workers. Not all of them were, though. But so they would get in his car willingly. You know, there's a reason why serial killers target sex workers because
it's easier.
It's easier.
Yeah.
But, and I definitely want to get into when we get to that part of the story because This dude, happily, is dead. He was executed in 2019 by lethal injection. And after he'd been on death row for, 35 years or something like that. And they didn't fry his ass.
What was he doing, fighting it the whole time?
Yeah, he was trying to, muck up the works and shit like that. But, you know how they do.
So they killed him fucking 5 years away from dying of old age.
Probably, yeah. But I'm like, But another kind of happy thing about this, I mean, it's not happy, but at least it had, a silver lining, was that the girl that got away from him, who at the time was 17, is a stone cold badass. And she is the one that got this motherfucker caught.
Good.
And, I mean, she's amazing. And she wrote a book, which I haven't read, which I actually kind of want to read now, after I heard her story. But there is a movie that was made, it's for Lifetime, but don't let that dissuade you. It was actually really good. The acting was really good. It's on Hulu. It might be somewhere else. That's where I watched it. And it's called Believe Me. I think it's called The Kidnapping of Lisa McVey or The Abduction of Lisa McVey. One of those two things. But it's on Hulu, and it's based on her book, and it's great. So after you see that, you'd be like, holy shit, she is a fucking hero.
How long did he keep her for?
26 hours.
Okay.
And, yeah, so... But yeah, I mean, out of all of this fucking shit show, I was, inspired by her fucking story. Especially, what happened after and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, she is a fucking badass. So we're going to talk about that as well. And like I said, if you have Hulu, there's a movie on there called Believe Me, which is about her. And it's really, really good. And it's about this motherfucker, too. It's mostly about her and about what happened, but it talks about the other crimes also. So yeah. So like I said, this dude's dead now. But let's kind of talk about... I was going to do the crimes first and then talk about him, but we'll talk about him first and then we'll talk about the crimes. Kind of in a timeline sort of thing. So this motherfucker, he's not originally from Florida. That's not, he's still Florida man, though. He's an honorary Florida man. He moved here when he was 2. He's originally from West Virginia. Now, his mom, whose name was Luella, she left his dad when Bobby Joe was 2 years old and moved down to Tampa. Now, she was a single mom, and this was, the 50s, which, so it was kind of unusual back then. So she kind of had to find jobs, as cocktail waitresses and in bars and shit like that. So they moved around a lot, sleeping on other people's couches and crap. And the thing about it was that, one, he failed the first grade, which seems like it would be hard to do. I'm not picking on him. But like I said, he had Klinefelter syndrome, or XXY syndrome. He had an extra X chromosome. And one of the symptoms of that is difficulty learning to read, which might have, I don't know if that's true, but it might have contributed to him failing first grade. And like I said, he also had a fuck ton of head injuries, when he was a kid, which we'll get into in a little bit. Which I'm sure didn't help. Now, his mom, like I said, because she worked in, bars and shit like that, she's trying to hustle. She's trying to make money. She's wearing, skimpy-ass clothing, like a bartender does, to get bigger tips. That's just how it works. And the son, old Bobby Joe, really, really did not like that. And she was always she was apparently quite beautiful, and so she was always had a dude on the go, and she was always bringing home random dudes. Now here's something a little bit weird, and I'm not sure if this was out of necessity or if it was there's some if they just lived in a tiny ass apartment, but he slept in the same bed with his mom until he was 12 or 13 years old, which is a little bit weird. And it might have been just because the house or the apartment was one bedroom, but couldn't he sleep on the couch? I mean, there was a couch, I would imagine, because I read that when she would bring dudes home, he would, because the first when I read that, I was like, wait, is she bringing dudes home and just fucking him and he's sleeping right there? Because that'd be a little weird. But then another thing that I read said no, that she sent him out to sleep on the couch. So I was like, why didn't he sleep on the couch all the time? I don't know. So I don't know if there was some kind of weird relationship going on with that. But because of his relationship with his mom, he started developing a pretty seething hatred of women, just as as a species, I guess. Like, he really, really hated them. Now, as I said, he had like a whole bunch of fucking head injuries. The first of these happened when he was 5 years old. He fell off a swing and busted his head open and got knocked unconscious. And also, a stick went through his eyelid. Like, I don't think it penetrated his eye, but it would like put a hole in his eyelid. So that's when he was 5.
That's not quite a head injury, though.
Well, no, because he fell on his head and it busted his...
Oh, okay.
If you didn't hear the first part of it.
No, I thought it was 2 different injuries.
No. He fell off and it was just, Right. And then, like, I don't even know if it was like a year later, he was riding his bike and got thrown off his bike, crashed into a parked car. That knocked a bunch of his teeth out, and he got a concussion. And then, a year after that, he fell off a pony onto his head. And I don't know if he got adequate medical treatment for that, because they said he was, like, nauseated and stuff for several weeks, so I'm assuming he had a concussion again. So, from some of these head injuries, like, he had like, some of his teeth had fallen out, and his jaw was kind of deformed. So he got bullied a lot because of that, because he was kind of funny looking. And so it seemed like he got not only bullied, but he would get into like fist fights with other kids and stuff like that. So he seemed like kind of a hothead even from like a young age. But like I said, in his defense, which I don't really want to be defending serial killers, but he was getting bullied because he was funny looking, you know what I mean? So as I mentioned, he was born with this syndrome that it's possible, because one of the other symptoms, so I read, of Klinefelter syndrome is lack of motor control. So that might have accounted for why he was getting in so many accidents all the time. Although, I've known some kids, I mean, I didn't break any bones or anything like that, like, as a kid. But I knew a kid that my mom babysat. And that kid was always fucking breaking bones, and he wasn't being abused or nothing like that. He was just a little daredevil, and he was just didn't give a shit. So he was just constantly like, climbing on crap and just falling off of shit, and it's just like he never learned not to do that. You know what I mean? So he was always like, busting his head open and shit like that. So he might have been a kid like that, or it might have been.
What the hell?
What are you doing?
It's like we lost. It's still streaming, right?
I don't know. I guess so.
Let's see, it acted like it's still streaming, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Because I just
weird.
heard your
Okay,
voice.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that's
weird.
Yeah. I don't know
why the sound came back and it stopped.
Huh.
My tablet fucked it up, probably.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Your tablet's always kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
So it could be that the Klinefelter syndrome might have contributed to him just being like really accident prone, because maybe he was just, like I said, he didn't have real good fine motor control, so he was always like crashing into shit or whatever.
Get you some ice.
Okay. And here's something they don't bring up a lot, but I saw this. I think this was on the Casual Criminalist episode with Simon Whistler, where they talked about him. Because they said that he was real cruel to animals. So I'm not thinking that it's just like the head injury, because he had another head injury like later on where people said his personality totally changed. But I think he already had proclivities in that direction prior to that happening, because apparently when he was a teenager, he had a dog, and he killed the dog by shooting it in the vagina.
What?
Which I'm guessing that he hated it because it was a female dog. Because he really, really hated women. Really hated them.
What was the reason?
He didn't know. He didn't have a reason.
No.
Like I said, because he was just a shithead.
Yeah.
That was the reason. But yeah, so he actually did grow breasts when he went through puberty because of the XXY syndrome. And at 13, he had to have them surgically removed. And so he was really self-conscious about that. Like, his friend in school, who later became his wife for a time, she said that that he would, they would all go swimming or whatever, and he would never, ever, ever take his shirt off because he had big scars, you know what I mean, from where they took off the breast tissue.
I wonder what cup he was.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's fucking funny.
I mean, like I said, it's like I don't really like to make fun of people for that kind of shit because it's like you can't help it. You're just like born with that, and that really probably sucked a lot. But that said,
dude's a serial killer, man. Fuck
yeah,
him.
and the thing about it is that, and see, I say that like every time. It's like, you know, a lot of people had abusive households. A lot of people had shitty childhoods. A lot of people were bullied for things like this, and it's like they ended up totally fine. So there had to be something.
Dude's a serial rapist,
on.
man. A serial killer. Fuck him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, right around the time that he had the surgery and everything like that, he actually befriended. Seems like he didn't have a lot of friends because he was kind of a jerk. But he did befriend a girl named Cynthia Bartlett at school. And this seems to have, I mean, he's only 13, she's 13, they were the same age, I think. And this seemed to have spurred him to stop sleeping in the same bed with his mom. So maybe it was his choice to sleep in the bed with his mom, even though he seems to have hated her. I don't know, it's a really weird situation. So, him and Cynthia, who I think usually she's called Cindy, because she's interviewed like on some of the documentaries about him. They actually dated all through their teenage years, and then they got married like 6 years later, like in 1974, and they would eventually have 2 kids. They had like a son and a daughter. So he's another one that was married and had kids and was doing all this shenanigans, like, and she didn't know about it. And the thing about it is, like, seeing her interviews, she had no idea that he was capable of doing that kind of crap until later, which we'll get into in a little bit. But she loved him. I mean, a lot. You know what I mean? And it's just like when she found out like what he was doing, she was just completely blindsided. She had no idea. But yeah. So by this time,
sexual problems.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. Yeah. Oh, and they got worse too. Yeah. Like, wait till you hear about
BTK
this.
jumped and said, "Well, you know, sometimes a man might have good standing in the community, and it's not. He did other things, but you just had sexual problems."
Yeah. Among other things.
Yeah, they always fucking try to rationalize that shit. Man, fuck that dude.
I know, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But so he had actually joined the Army, and he was stationed in Homestead Air Force Base, which I think that's in South Florida, I'm pretty sure. And then he was in yet another accident where he sustained another very serious head injury. This was a motorcycle accident. And so he busted his head all up, and he almost lost a leg. Like, his leg was crushed, and they were actually thinking about amputating it, but in the end, they actually didn't have to. Now, the thing about this, so he was in the hospital, obviously, for a really long time, like, after this motorcycle accident, and he was married at this point, so Cindy would come visit him, and she said, after this accident, and I think they'd only been married, like, a month at this point, right? I mean, they'd been dating all through their teenage years, but I think they'd only been married a month when this motorcycle accident happened. And she said after that, he seemed like a completely different person. One of the things that happened was that he became hypersexual. They said he was all in casts and everything like that because he was all busted up. But the nurses said he would just jack it like 6 times a day in the fucking hospital bed.
Well, everybody's watching.
Well, yeah, he did not give one single fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and whenever his wife came to visit him, he's like, "You have to have sex with me right now." Yeah. Like, she had to have sex with him when she came to visit him, like, every time at the hospital. And then the rest of the time, he was just, like, jerking it.
Yeah, the head injury must have tripped some fucking...
It tripped something.
Something in him, yeah.
I mean, like I said, he seemed like a dick before that.
Yeah.
But this accident really seems to have ramped it up to 11.
Probably what it did is it kind of just abolished a certain part of his impulse control, So whatever, he was constantly wanting shit, Probably wasn't just sex. It's probably other things too.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't delay gratification.
Yeah, it might have been that, because it might have gotten rid of his... I mean, I'm sure it fucked up his frontal lobe, it seems like. And he also became physically abusive toward his wife, which he apparently had not been before. She said that he kind of had a short temper before that, but he didn't beat up on her or nothing. But after that accident, he certainly did.
Yeah.
But he had actually one rape allegation before the accident. So like I said, it's not like he was a great dude before and it just like changed his personality. Now his wife said as far as she knew, he never beat on the kids or nothing like that. But he did have like a real bad temper and he beat on her. She said one time that he choked her into unconsciousness and then slammed her head against the TV.
Damn.
And she said, this is a quote, she says, "When I came to, I was on the couch. Of course, he was there crying. I'll never do it again. I'm so sorry." Then the next words were, "When you drive yourself to get your stitches, if you tell them what really happened, I'll kill you when you get home."
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty fucking special. So, yeah. So, in her defense, after this fucking... I mean, she did hang out for a while because their kids were little. And she just kind of had to put up with it until they got big enough. But she did actually file for divorce in 1980 and was like, yeah, I need to get the fuck out of here. So after that happened, Bobby Joe moves in with a female friend of his, who's, I think her name was Sharon Richards. I've also heard her called Susan Richards, but I'm pretty sure it's Sharon. And he basically, like, once he moved in there, like, he got in trouble for beating her up too, but, like, we'll get into that in a second. But once he got in there, he's just like, he really needs to jack it all the time. And then he gets the idea, he's like, I should start raping people, you know? Cause
yeah, of course.
Because that's gonna fix it. So he gets an idea to go through the classified ads. This is why they call him the classified ad rapist. And look for ads. He wasn't looking at the personal ads. I know what you might be thinking.
Yeah.
It's not that. What he would do is he would go through the classified ads and he would look for if somebody had a house for sale or if they had furniture for sale, particularly bedroom furniture. And so he would call and be like, hey, I'm interested in this armoire that you have or whatever the fuck. Yeah. And then he would go to the house, and if a woman was there by herself, like if the husband was there, he would just look at it and be like, nah, I'm not interested, and he would leave. But if the woman was there by herself, then he would force his way into the house, tie her up at knife point and rape her and then leave. And he did this many, many, many times. And at this point, he had been discharged from the army and he didn't have a job. So this was kind of like his job. It was just going through the fuck... I don't know where he was getting money from. But yeah, so he was just going around like doing that. But I was like, what a weird... Like, I can see why... Because when I first heard classified ad rapist, I was like, oh, what did he, like, put an ad in the paper, like, saying, hey, like, for dating or whatever. But he didn't do that. He targeted people that were, like, selling furniture and shit. Yeah. Well, he said specifically that he would pick bedroom furniture because it's like, well, then I can, like, go in the bedroom so I can look at it.
Right.
And then ask him to, like, try it out or kind of, you know what I mean? It's that kind of shit.
You never can't tell who's going to be there, though.
Well, no, he said if he showed up and the husband was there, then he would just say, nah, I don't want it, and he would leave. Like, no big deal.
What if it was a lady who didn't turn him on?
It seems like he didn't really care.
He didn't care. He didn't have
like
low
I said,
standards. Huh?
Yeah, it just seemed like he just wanted to get his dick wet.
Ridiculous.
And he just... I was like, get a pocket pussy like a normal person.
So that's how he got a lot of them, huh?
Yeah, that was kind of how he started out. And he did that for, like, years and years.
And how many... Did anybody even complain during that?
Yeah, it's like some people reported it, obviously, but it was like over several jurisdictions. Like he would do it. He did some in Miami. He did some in Ocala. He did some in Fort Lauderdale. Which, like I said, I mean, Miami and Ocala are very far apart. Fort Lauderdale and Miami are not that far apart, but they're still like different cities.
It's amazing he got away with that.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, so I don't know if like, I'm sure like some of the women didn't report it.
Yeah.
Or if they did, I'm not actually sure if he wore a mask or...
No, they would never let you in the house.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing.
They'd never let you in the house.
So it's just...
Yeah.
I don't know. But so I'm sure some of them reported it.
I guess he's like,
Because they were reporting it in the media, like they knew this dude was out there.
Yeah, I guess they're like, well, they can't take a picture of me. They won't be able to recognize me. Something like that. It worked.
Yeah, because they said that, like, he didn't, because he looked so innocuous, that, like, women didn't seem to have any, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there were some that nobody heard about, that woman's like, no, and just, like, slam the fucking door.
Now, are there any reports of what he would do during when he was in this phase? I mean, was he beating on him, or was he just hey, give it up, that kind of stuff? Or
I'm not
threats,
He did okay. Like one quote that he had, and this is like at the end of my notes because this is after they caught him. But he's like, he would basically, he had a mindset where he thought they wanted it because he said it's like, oh well, a bunch of them got into it. I'm like, I can assure you they did not. But they
probably played along.
Well, yeah, like I mean, it's like because they didn't want to get fucking killed, dumbass. Yeah. But so he said if they were kind of giving him shit or something like that, he would punch them in the stomach to get him to do what he wanted. And he said something like, because I have the direct quote down there, but I don't want to lose my place, where he said something like, bitches, what did he say? Like, bitches, if they have a choice between getting dicked and getting punched, like, they'll usually choose getting dicked. So it's like that. Yeah, he said something like that. Right, like I said, when I have the actual quote at the bottom, like, I'll tell you what it is. But it was something along those lines. So, but he seemed to think that he was God's fucking gift and that these chicks were into it. And, like, every now and then they'd get out of line and he'd have to punch him in the stomach. But, I mean, he tied them up, so he knew what he was doing was bad.
Oh, he tied them up when he was doing it, or he tied it up before he left?
No, well, he tied them up, like, to do it.
Okay, and then he raped them,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he had a gun at this point. He did have a knife. He did have a gun later. But he might have at this point. So, this went on for, as far as they know, 3 years. But then after they caught him, he said, nah, man, I've been doing that since, like, 1975. So, like, 8 years, more than, like, 3 years, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's why they think it might be more like 150 than 50. There's 50 that they know of. 50 that they know of. But like I said, there might be some that weren't reported or that they didn't connect to him or whatever. So there's that. But he did that for ages, and nobody fucking caught him. So, that was that. Now, remember how I said that he moved in with a female roommate, Sharon Richards? And not surprisingly, she accused him of raping her too, which, she was there, so yeah, that would be weird if he didn't fucking try some shit, because he just raped everybody, I guess. But she went to the cops about it, but they said they didn't have enough evidence and they didn't charge him. But then a couple weeks after that, Bobby hit her, like they were having an argument, and he popped her one, and then, like, he kind of left town for a little while. Like, he went back to visit his parents in West Virginia. So, he was gone for a little while, and then he came back in, like, June of 83. And then the next month, because at this point, he'd been divorced for, like, 3 years. And so he met another woman named Emma, and he had gotten a job in the interim. I think he was an x-ray tech. And she worked as a nurse, and this was at a Humana hospital. And they, they kind of got together, and she took him to church and shit like that. I don't remember anything bad happening to her. I'm sure it probably did, being with this motherfucker. But one thing that I read was that he would bring, I feel like a lot of serial killers do this kind of crap that have wives or girlfriends. It's like he would bring jewelry and shit like that he stole from his rape victims and give it to his girlfriend. Hey, look, honey, look what I bought you. This fucking, that's like so fucked up. But yeah, he would do that like all the time. But she didn't know, obviously, like where the gifts were coming. She's like, oh, he's so thoughtful, bringing me all this jewelry all the time that he stole from his fucking rape victims. Christ, man. So now he was actually, because remember they didn't have enough evidence for the Sharon Richards rape charge. However, they did get him on the assault charges. So after that, like, he basically was like writing to the judge saying, I didn't do anything wrong, and it's just like this was her fault, she started it, and it's like I want a new trial, blah de blah. Like I said, he really thought he was the shit, you know what I mean? And then he got in trouble again, as if he wasn't gross enough. He got in trouble for sending obscene letters and pictures, like dick pics and stuff, to a 12-year-old girl.
Damn, how did he do that?
In Tampa. I don't know. Like, I guess he knew her from somewhere. Like, I don't know if she was, like, the daughter of a friend or a coworker or some shit like that.
Through mail?
Yeah.
Through mail, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what mailings.
Yeah,
he mailed it to her.
It wouldn't be a modern dick pic where they're fucking sending it through fucking Messenger.
Yeah, you probably like took a Polaroid. It was like, look
Yeah.
at my magnificent penis, and just like took a Polaroid of it.
Yeah, and probably she got the same response all the motherfuckers from India get. It's just like,
Look, it's like a dick but smaller.
like a dick but smaller.
Yeah,
and unshorn.
it's like I can barely see that. What is that?
Yeah.
Is that a pinky finger?
Yeah. Get the magnifying glass.
Yeah,
And tweezers.
I know, man. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, it looks like one of those, like, McDonald's French fries from the bottom of the bag. It's like...
People, look, Jen's been working on the internet and shit fucking, for fucking decades. And there was a time when fucking just dick pics are just fucking flying. She showed me some of the things every now and then and just laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fucking, if you're going to fucking send a dick pic, that bitch better be fucking magnificent.
I mean,
right?
don't, but...
Yeah. Don't. They just going to laugh, but I can't believe a dude fucking send that shit.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, wow, they must really...
Dude.
Either that or they have some kind of fetish where they want me to make fun of it.
Want you to make fun of it, yeah, right, yeah.
Which that could be.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you can't think that looks any
Yeah.
good. Come on now. It's just kind of like, I don't know why I was just reminded of this, but you know how you have like older dudes, like middle-aged and up, like boomer dudes, and like they'll take a picture, like a selfie for their profile pic for social media.
Yeah.
And they inevitably take it from like underneath and like the lighting's shitty and it's like in the bathroom and they're like not smiling and they're just like
yeah,
like it's just like why do they all take a picture like that?
Yeah.
It's like that doesn't look good. And then they're on there being like looking for 18-year-old girls or shit like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like, yeah, good luck, bud.
If you don't have fucking
Dudes are
online
fucking
game, if you don't have online game, don't even try it.
It's fucking clueless.
You're better off just
They
finding.
just take a picture of their phone like
Just go to the bar. Just fucking. Just get the fucking hooker apps and just get a hooker.
I mean, just pay for it.
Just pay for it.
They're paid to put up with your ass.
Yeah.
None of us want to do it for free. That's for sure. But yeah, so it's not. But yeah, so this motherfucker. I think that he also maybe, during his rape spree, also raped some minors, like 12, 13-year-old girls, like that happened to be in the house also. So, also kind of a pedo, because, like I said, why not? We have all this other shit going on, and he hasn't even killed anybody
So
yet.
we don't know that happened. You're just thinking that he probably.
Well, I did read that somewhere, that they suspect that
happened.
That happened.
Probably not reported.
Yeah. But they know for sure that he sent the shit to at least one 12-year-old girl because they caught him.
Yeah. It was the one he knew.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I'm imagining it probably was.
Yeah.
Because back then, you kind of had to know somebody's address and all that other kind of shit.
That's weird. And they caught him, so he'd have to put his return address on it.
What was he thinking, I wonder?
I don't know. That's like that dude. The fucking.
Oh, she's going to be so impressed.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of this case. Dude came in through came to some chick's apartment. He fucking assaults her. She fucking pretends to be just impressed with him and just fucking love him and shit. He said he thought he was real Romeo, all right? He was leaving and she goes, "Hey, can I have your number?" And he goes, "Oh, sure." And fucking gave her his number. "Can I call you back? Can I have your number?" Yeah. He fucking left. She went right to the police. "Look, here's his phone number. His name's fucking this and that." They got his ass. And that was back in the 80s. Yeah. Because he thought, he was a young guy.
He just thought he was
fucking super Romeo, yeah.
He's like, wow, I won her over.
Yeah.
And she's just like, you're so awesome. Yeah, I'm going to the cops.
He was in his late teens, early 20s. So he thought he was going after younger women. But he thought he was just fucking Romeo. He was a serial rapist, and I think they called him Romeo or something, or he had like a nickname. The cops gave him a nickname.
Like an ironic. They were ironically calling him Romeo.
Well, yeah, he'd go in there. He thought he was Romeo.
Oh my goodness.
He loved them and all kinds of weird shit.
He's like, here, I brought you a Whitman sampler. Therefore, you have to let me rape you. That's how it works.
I think he came in with a knife.
Yeah, that's what this motherfucker did.
Yeah, he came in with a knife, if I remember correctly. But then he tried to play it off like this is just, I just have to have this as part of the job type of deal.
It's part of the job.
It's like, I love you, baby. It's like that.
But I'll stab you if you.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and let's just have a good time, and make sweet love to you. Some weird shit like that.
Dude, even if I was
She's
about
like,
to...
what's your number? Can you come back and see me again? Yeah, I'll come back. What's your number?
Even if I was about to get murdered, I don't know if I could keep a straight face or not.
Yeah. What is wild is
I'm just saying.
What is wild is that there's some of those pretty fucking sadistic serial sex offenders will go back and re-rape a victim that they've been in there before.
Yeah, that's why...
There was some of them that hit them 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Well, that's why... You know, women that have been raped and stuff like that, like a lot of them, they can't go outside anymore and shit like that. And it's like, you can't, because they think everywhere they go, that dude's
gonna be there.
Be there, and it's like they might not be wrong.
And every now and then he shows back up. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So
miss me? Yeah, he comes.
Yeah.
You miss me?
Oh my god, I'd be fucking terrified.
That shit, yeah.
I'd be like hiding in my fucking bathroom closet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it would ruin your whole fucking life.
Yeah, I've heard about cases like that. Some of them are like real fucking mean, you know. Oh, you thought you got away, you know, that kind of shit. You know, I got you. I own you now.
Yeah,
I come back anytime I want to.
Yeah.
They're saying shit like that, too.
Yeah, because it's like a power move.
Yeah, it's power. And the thing is that it's true. He keeps coming back.
Yeah. Because they enjoy you being completely terrified of them.
Yeah.
You know, they just get off on it. I mean...
I'd get me a big-ass man with a fucking big-ass gun. Wait for that motherfucker to come back.
Blow his head clean off.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And then make a stew out of him and feed him to the dogs.
Get a giant fucking dog, and a giant attack dog, a giant man, and a fucking machine gun.
Or get some pigs to feed him to. That would be nice. Just put him out, cut him up a little bit, put him out in the trough so the pigs would eat him alive. That'd be nice. Just like in that fucking...
It's amazing that in general here in the United States is that it's safe for a woman to live alone. In general, you know, there's a lot of women living alone. Nothing that happens to them their whole lives.
Yeah, but so you never want to be that one that...
You don't want to be that one that fucking they come get you.
Because it does happen.
It does happen.
You know what I mean? I mean, I used to live alone, and I usually wasn't worried. Even though, I mean, the neighborhood I lived in was not great, but it wasn't super sketchy either. Yeah. It was mostly students.
That's where they go, though.
Yeah, it was mostly students and, like, single moms and
that's where they go.
I know, and the only thing that bothered me was I was on the ground floor.
Yeah, that
so
apartment.
I didn't really like that apartment was on the ground floor.
It was a lower kind of middle class fucking apartments where she lived. They were nice at one time, but they were getting older.
Downgraded.
Yeah, and you know, they weren't dirt cheap. They were, you know, probably ended up about $1,000 a month to live there, wouldn't it?
All those years ago, no, it was actually more like 700.
700? Okay.
Something like that. I just had a one bedroom.
What ends up happening, the risk there is that there's a dude that lives in there, hangs out in that area,
that sees
people coming and going, and
I did kind of worry about that.
That's usually how that happens.
And the thing about it was that, I mean, the one good thing was that I worked nights and I worked out of town, so 3 or 4 nights a week I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
But when I was working, like, sometimes I wouldn't get home until like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of like, where it was, you could park like right by my apartment. Yeah. So it was just like.
Once you started hanging out with me, you know, no problems because I'm the fucking devil incarnate. Ain't nobody gonna bother.
Well, yeah, and then I would stay with him, or he would stay with me, or you know what I mean. So I wasn't by myself.
Yeah, and if I ever feel threatened, I'm packing. You know, which I never have to do because nobody fucks with me.
Yeah.
But if I get that feeling, I'll fucking pack. I got all kinds of good shit. This house is fucking loaded to the gills. All right. You can't get in here and survive.
No, you're not coming back.
No, you won't come back out. I might be killed, but you're not coming back out of here. I've made sure of it. Yeah.
Phantom says, I don't understand how prostitutes don't always carry guns in case of a customer like BJ Long. And then Papa said, yeah, it worked out for Aileen Wuornos. Well, I mean, she was carrying that just specifically to, like, kill motherfuckers. Although, like I said, I kind of feel like the first one, maybe she could have got away with it. But after a while, I think she started to enjoy it.
There was one girl a few years ago, I guess about 8-9 years ago. He was a serial killer going through Craigslist, traveling across the country, making appointments with hookers and killing them when he was getting there. Yeah. The girl was hooking out of her house, and he comes in. They showed her, they interviewed her, and he pulls a gun on her and says, this is either going to be for free or I'm going to kill you. She's like, okay, let's just get it over with. And he was roughing her up and going through her, running through her. He had a 9mm pistol. He set it down on a table. She grabbed it, put it over her head like that, squeezed the trigger, and fucking shot him right in the head.
Good for her.
And he fell down and his fucking belt loop, or his belt got caught in the door, and he was standing there, hanging from the door when the cops showed up. She had never fired a gun before. She just said it was just instinct.
Instinct kicked in.
Boom!
I guess it would.
She didn't know how to operate it. She was lucky he had a round in the chamber.
Yeah.
I think it was a little Taurus 9mm, and it shot him clean right through the head. She had her eyes closed. She said she had her eyes closed and everything when she pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
The cops let her go. They went into his car.
Well, I hope so.
Well, they don't know what happened, but they went into his car. He had a list of all the hookers, and some of them were dead. They're ones that he went to before. He had machetes and chainsaws and tools, weird tools.
A little fishy.
Yeah, and he was a fucking over-the-top motherfucker himself. He was.
Yeah,
he was a
said
nerd.
That was the Craigslist killer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a show about that.
Yeah, Craigslist killer.
About that motherfucker.
I think that might have been his name. She shot him. So, but I think a lot of hookers don't carry into that. Like if you look at the Figueroa situation, Figueroa Ave out in California, they're not hardly wearing anything. But you got pimps and fucking gangs watching them, and they take them to little local places where they're being watched. They don't go far. So I don't think they're ever really alone with them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like, being a sex worker on the street is like so dangerous. But I mean, they know that they have to have some kind of like backups. Like a lot of them kind of have a buddy system going.
Yeah.
And all that was kind of the case in this too, but it didn't work out.
In the bigger cities, they make the client take them to these little rat nest hotels.
Yeah, so like
and gangs control those hotels.
Right.
So they're secure in that hotel from their point of view. They can't do anything in there.
Yeah.
But the little drive to the hotel, that might be dangerous.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, like, once you get in that dude's car, he's like, oh, I'm not taking you to that hotel.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened in this situation.
They probably just jump out, though.
Mm.
Tough ass street hoes. They just jump out of the car. You know.
Punch him in the nuts and then jump out of the car. I mean, I would think.
It's a dangerous job, man, in the fucking modern era of the internet. I don't know why a girl would do that, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's still dangerous doing it over the internet, but it's like way less dangerous.
Way less
than
dangerous.
just walking around the street and getting
just
into a car.
Just getting into random motherfuckers' cars.
I mean, like I said, there's a reason serial killers often target them.
Yeah.
You know, well, there's lots of reasons why, but, you know. So this motherfucker, where were we? Okay, so he did the picture, which I'm assuming was a dick pic or a naked pic of himself, sent it to a 12-year-old. Guess, he got arrested. Guess what punishment he got?
What?
2 whole days in jail.
Yeah.
And 6 months probation.
Yeah, they didn't think it was a big deal back then. A lot of shit was like that
now
back in the 80s
and 70s. Now they put you on a
70s.
fucking list.
You'd gotten fucked up today, yeah.
Yeah, big time. Well, and rightfully so. I think like back then, like I said, they didn't really think of, oh, it's just a picture.
You're like, oh, it's just sex.
Except this dude's a serial killer, you know what I mean? Although he hadn't, like I said, he hadn't killed anybody yet that they know of.
Yeah.
But he's about to. And the thing about it is that, okay, so he kind of got off with a slap on the wrist for that. And then he got away with allegedly raping his roommate. And he also assaulted her. And he got charged for that initially. But then he got a retrial because he whined and cried to the judge so much. And they let him off. So he got away with that too.
Well, I guess it was a he said, she said thing.
I guess so. Like,
I said it was consensual. She crazy. Yeah, that's right.
That's
some shit,
that's what
probably
they
some
all
shit
say.
like that.
So, but yeah, I'm like, you know, the more shit that he did later on, they're like, oh, well, maybe there's something to what she said. Maybe we should have listened to her. Oh well, should have put him in jail back then, and then none of this would have happened. I mean, all the rapes would have still happened, but still. So it was around this stage that Bobby Joe decides just raping them isn't enough anymore. He's deciding he's going to escalate to murder. Now, interestingly, the first murder that he did, that they know of, they actually didn't know until after he was caught. Because his killing spree was less than a year. It was only like 8 months. And at some points, this was all in Tampa. It was all Hillsborough County. I think one was in Pasco County, which is like the neighboring county. But it's all in the same area. He picked up most of the women from the same area, which is Nebraska Avenue, which is kind of like where all the hookers hang out in Tampa. And it just seems like so it was a very short period of time, and they said at some points we were finding a body like every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? There was just body after body after body, and they couldn't catch the dude. You know what I mean?
You get another drink.
So this first woman that he killed, they actually didn't find her until after he was caught. So they only retroactively know that this was his first victim. But what happened, he admitted later, was that on March 27th, 1984, he picked up a 20-year-old sex worker named Artis Wick, also known as Ann. As I said, he picked most of them up along Nebraska Avenue in Tampa. And he raped her and then decided that that wasn't enough, apparently. So then he strangled her to death and dumped her body. So she was found in November of 1984, like after he was arrested, and he'd admitted to it, like, and he drew them a map to like where her body was. They only knew her as a missing person until he confessed to it. So the second one happened, well, the body was discovered on Mother's Day, which was May 13th of 1984. So there were a couple of kids, like teenagers, and they were walking across the field in like right off of I-75, which is like a main highway there in Tampa. And they smelled something really bad. So they go over, there's like this construction site or something, and that's where the smell was coming from. So they go over there, and they find this really decomposed body. So they ran, got their parents, called the cops, everything like that. Now, they thought that the body had laid there for about 3 days. And this is Florida, y'all. And this is May. So it's really hot. So the body didn't look too good. There's maggots everywhere. They actually couldn't identify her at first or tell what race she was or anything because the maggots had essentially eaten her face. She was actually found laying face down. Her wrists were tied together behind her back, and she had a noose like wrapped 3 times around her neck, and it looked as though he almost had it like a hangman's noose, or it looked like a leash. You know what I mean? That was kind of one of his signatures, was it was kind of this leash looking rope that he used. Another signature was that he usually used a different kind of rope for binding the wrists and binding the neck for some reason. But that was another thing that was pretty common. So they see that this woman, not only had she been strangled to death, she had also been horribly beaten. They found a white cloth under her face, which they thought had been used to gag her. And one of the most grotesque things was that the woman's hips, he had taken her legs and broken her hips so he could spread her legs out. He left her, like, to humiliate her.
Yeah.
So he left her. He did it with one other victim too, but this was the first one that he did it with, where he wanted to like break her legs so he could put her legs like as wide
open, like straight
as wide as possible. Yeah. They couldn't determine at first if she'd been raped, but obviously she had been. After they did the autopsy, they figured that out. Now, one thing that they did find at the scene, which was kind of interesting, was a set of tire tracks, and they did like a plaster cast, as you do. And one thing that they noted, and they said, well, they hoped that this would help them catch this motherfucker like quickly, was that the front and rear right tires had like a regular, pretty standard tread design, but the left rear tire had like a weird one, like it was different from the other ones, and they thought that was kind of strange. So they're like, okay, well, that's good, so we know something to look out for, you know what I mean? Like, they later figured out like what tires they were exactly, but so they said, okay, so that's something different that we can use to maybe catch this dude. So yeah, they like I said, they couldn't tell how old this woman was or her race or anything, but the coroner said, I think she might be Asian. So they call up the FBI at this point. Like I said, this is the first one, because he had killed one woman before this, but they hadn't found her. You know what I mean? They didn't actually find her until after he was caught many months later. So as far as they know, this is just this grotesque body that they found, and they're like, okay, well, this isn't good. And even from the beginning, even though it's just one body, the investigators were like, oh shit, like they kind of knew that it's like, this dude has done this before and is gonna do it again. They're like, man, this is a fucking serial killer, and they didn't want it to be one, but it's like they knew, you know what I mean, because they knew the signatures. So they bring in a fiber analyst, and they found on the woman's scarf, they found this like kind of red fiber, trilobal as they call it, and they concluded that this was from a carpet, and it's like, this is probably from a car carpet, like a cheap one, and it's red. And so they're like, so obviously this was the car that was probably used to transport her like to the dump site. So that was one thing that they kind of like put away for later. Now, because this was the first one, and because she was a sex worker, sadly, this didn't really get much media attention. I mean, despite the grotesquerie of how her body was found. They're like, I saw that it was like on the back page of the paper or something like that. Like, they didn't even put it on the front page or nothing. Now, they were able to triangulate, like they looked all through the missing persons reports and stuff like that, and figured out that this woman, they didn't have DNA then, obviously, but they did have fingerprints, and they found out that this was a 20-year-old woman named Lana Long. And she was also a sex worker. She was actually a dancer, like a stripper at the Sly Fox Lounge. And I was like, oh shit, I kind of remember that place. I'd never been there, but I used to pass the sign, you know what I mean? But yeah, so she was actually Laotian, I think. Either she was or her parents were, I'm not really sure. So they were right, she was Asian. And I will say to you that almost all of his victims were white, but this one was Asian, and he did kill one black woman as well. But and for a while they thought that one was not connected for reasons we'll get to, but it definitely was. But yeah, so they did identify her as Lana Long, as a dancer and also a sex worker. She also, like a lot of women in this situation, had problems with drugs, and she was working as a dancer to try to earn money. She was going to move back to California. And one of the things, too, not only were a lot of these women sex workers, but a lot of them did not have cars. And so, obviously, we're always, like, looking for rides for people, which, was something that he seemed like he was kind of looking for. Now, because they didn't initially know this was a serial killer, because they thought this was the first one, they thought maybe her boyfriend had done it, but he had an alibi, and that checked out. So they're like, okay, well, that sucks, but they can't do anything else about it. However, only 2 weeks later, they found another body, May 27th, 1984. And this was near Plant City, which is a little bit north of I-4, Hillsborough County. And they're like, this scene, when they got there, I was like watching an interview with one of the investigators who worked on this, and he's like, I got to the scene, and I was like, I said to the guy that had already seen the body, he's like, please tell me like that her hands weren't bound behind her back, and he's like, yeah, they were, and he's like, fuck, you know what I mean? Because he's like, yeah, this is a serial killer. So this woman that they found, mostly nude, as most of them were. They either totally nude or almost all nude, like partially. She was actually on her back. Now, she was wearing this green shirt, which he had ripped up the front and then, like, pulled it back. So, like, pulled her hands, like, the sleeves, like, pulled her hands behind her back.
I don't understand what that.
Yeah, like, he pulled the shirt and then used the shirt, like, to pull her hands behind her back.
Okay.
And
then
he
ripped it up to the center.
Yeah.
All right.
And then he also did, just like the first victim, he also had a rope that was tied 3 times around the neck, like kind of like a leash. And again, like the ropes that had been used to strangle her around her neck, and the ones he had also put ropes around her wrists, but they were different rope, just like the first victim. And she was actually was kind of cut up, like her on her neck and cheeks, like had knife marks, and her throat was cut also. So it seems she'd been strangled and her throat had been cut.
Must have not have been a fatal cut, though, huh?
Maybe not. But She also had blunt force trauma over her left ear, so it seemed like he whacked her with something, like in the side of the head. So they said this was a horribly brutal crime. She'd been stabbed multiple times, strangled, and beaten. So, yeah. They did find, like a white jumpsuit that had blood on it and some white pantyhose, and they were hanging in a tree, like not far away, so they assumed that was her clothes. They also found those telltale red fibers, like laying on her breast right here. And they found a bunch of hair that was not hers, like some strands of hair, like on her stomach. So they sent that to the lab. So they got the tire tracks from around the scene, and they found like a barefoot print in the mud too, which I'm not sure was hers or.
So once he started killing them, only one victim actually survived. None of the other ones got away.
No.
Now, once he was captured, did he give up his MO and tell stories about
yeah,
what
he confessed.
Did? Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And he gave the details of why they worked that way. Okay.
Which, like I said, he didn't really give a lot of detail, but he did confess to stuff and like why he had done certain things.
Okay.
And he didn't explain why he had broken the legs and pulled. He didn't do that with all of them. It was just 2 of them, I think. But it's pretty obvious why he did that. Yeah,
it's still. I would have asked him, like, what was that all about?
Yeah.
What kind of kinky shit was that?
Yeah.
And he's, just something I did. It's probably a bit something mundane like that. Got a super chat.
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say.
It's from Papa.
Thank you very much, Papa77.
Yeah.
Just cause great show. I really enjoy the serial killer shows.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know it's weird to say that I enjoy them, but I also enjoy them too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I just find them really interesting. So yeah. Now, when they did the plaster cast of the tire tracks, they matched, obviously, the tire tracks from the first scene. So they were like, okay, well, this is obviously the same guy. Now, this woman was kind of decomposed, but she wasn't as decomposed. Because remember I said the first one, she had been there for like 3 days. And this one had been here for about 12 hours. She'd also been, when they did the autopsy, she'd been hit in the head like 5 times, like with a blunt object. Obviously, she'd also been raped. So this is kind of like, they didn't know who she was at first. So they did like a composite drawing of her, like, she was just a Jane Doe. They thought she was in her late teens, about 5'5". She had dark brown hair, and dark eyes. She turned out to be another sex worker, and she was 22-year-old Michelle Sims, who was also a drug addict, and she had only arrived in the city 2 days prior and had been picked up by this motherfucker, and he killed her.
Do they know where he's picking them up?
Yeah, Nebraska Avenue, I already said.
Okay, it's on that. Okay. So they're just standing on the street.
Not every single one of them, because like I said, some of them were not sex workers.
Okay.
But it seemed like he was just kind of targeting whoever, if there was a woman like walking by herself at night, whether she was a sex worker or not, he was just going to try to get her in the car, or he's going to grab her. You know what I mean? It was that kind of shit. So, yeah. So, like I said, they found the red fibers and everything like that at this scene, too, and the same tire tracks, so they knew that this was the same guy. They also figured out from the semen that this was, he had an AB blood type, and, like I said, they identified the hairs as belonging to a Caucasian male. So they knew that. So, again, they got the FBI involved, and they started to do, like, a profile on this guy. Now, the thing about this, I know profiling, I guess profiling kind of started in the 70s. This is like 84. But the profile they did on this dude was, like, really thorough, and it was, like, pretty accurate. Like, after they caught him, like, it was pretty crazy. But I'll get into that in a bit. But, like, I was just surprised, because I'm, like, reading, I'm like, holy shit, like, they really fucking call that. Like, even, like, little details and stuff. So, they obviously knew, they're like, this dude has a car, like, because he's carrying these bodies out to these kind of rural areas and dumping them. They're like, that, they thought he was probably, quote-unquote, deviant, because of the leash and because of the weird shit he was doing to the bodies. They weren't all the same physical type, so they thought that he was just, targeting them randomly, like a just opportunity.
Yep.
So the profile was white male, obviously, like most serial killers are. Probably mid-20s, which he was about this time. They said that he would be extroverted, gregarious, and manipulative. They said he would probably be an organized killer, and that he would appear normal, and he would operate in society like normally, like no one would notice him being a weirdo or anything. But they said that he would be self-centered, argumentative, and would not display much emotion, like a sociopath or a psychopath. He would be narcissistic, would always want to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
He would be impulsive, but not enough that he would risk getting caught. They said he probably lied very easily and had a very macho self-image, and would carry a weapon as like a statement of his manhood. They thought that he probably graduated high school, but probably dropped out of college because he couldn't hack it. Because he probably was not good at discipline. They said he's probably intelligent, but has problems with authority. And he would have like a masculine type job because that was like really important to him. But he would have a hard time keeping a job, so he probably had a lot of jobs where he wasn't there that long. You know what I mean? They said that probably when he was a kid, he was probably difficult to control and resented any efforts to discipline him. And he may have had a history of animal cruelty, which a lot of serial killers do. Arson, I don't think he did arson. And bedwetting. Those are like the three. I feel like most serial killers have those three.
What is up with bedwetting?
I'm not really sure why.
How does that work?
I keep meaning to look that up because I know that comes up because those are the three things that come up a lot of times, like as red flags.
Yeah.
Like for children that might become serial killers later. Arson's a big one. Cruelty in animals is a big one. I mean, those are obvious.
That's obvious, but why?
But bedwetting, for some reason I don't know why bedwetting.
Why would you piss in your bed when you're? It just happens when they're asleep.
Yeah, I guess.
Or are they awake when they do it? And if it happens when they're asleep, what does that have to do with anything? Are they afraid to get out of bed? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Afraid to get out of bed because it's dark, so they're kind of fearful to walk out of the bed. They're little kids, afraid to get out of bed to go to the bathroom because they're walking out and walking in darkness. That's the only thing I can relate to because when I'd get up fucking to take a leak when I was a little kid, it'd be, I gotta walk through the house.
Yeah, and it's like,
it's dark.
I've seen horror movies.
Yeah. But you do it anyway.
That lady from The Shining is gonna be in the bathtub.
Yeah.
That's what I used to
I thought I was gonna get attacked by Endora from Bewitched.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was a little kid. I thought, that witch is gonna get me.
While you're in that.
Samantha's mom.
But yeah, well, remind me because I've always been kind of curious about that too. Because I know that comes up a lot as like a red flag, and I'm just kind of like, I wonder why that specific. I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah.
I just can't think of what it is offhand. Like I said, arson and stuff, that's really obvious, but...
About 2 years ago, a year ago, I went back and watched the old Bewitched episode. They got them on YouTube. And Endora was in it. And I was going like, I know I'm old now, because that bitch is hot. That bitch is hot.
Because when you were a little, I was
a little kid as an old lady. Yeah. So now she's pretty fucking hot. That's a hot old lady.
Yeah. That's really funny.
It's fucking funny.
But yeah, so I don't know about the bedwetting or the arson, but for sure animal cruelty. That's a big one. Like, and that's something he displayed also. They said probably he had served in the military, which he had, Army. But that he would have had a lot of trouble because of the authority issue. They said that he would probably have a girlfriend or a wife, which he did. And they said that he would date a lot, but if he was in a long-term relationship, he would cheat on them, which also true.
They're almost talking about fucking Joseph D'Angelo.
Well, like I said, this is common, like among a lot of serial killers. They also said his car of choice would be flashy, like a sports car.
Okay.
Which it kind of, I don't know, it wasn't a sports car exactly, but it was like a little bit flashy, I feel like. So, they said he would also probably have a prison record, which he did. And they said he probably had done more minor crimes like burglary or voyeurism or something like that, which, like I said, a lot of serial killers do that too.
First Power 100 says bedwetting is a trait common to sex abuse victims.
Ah.
And many of the serial killers are supposed to be...
I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
I didn't know there was a correlation.
I mean, yeah, that's... Okay, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. Mystery solved. All right. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Go to the restroom.
Yeah, no, I gotta go too, but... Yeah, so... So, after all of that, like I said, and again, like a lot of other serial killers, they said he was probably into cops or he was like a police buff. And they thought that maybe he would get involved with the investigation somehow, which I don't think he ever did. I'm not really sure about that. But that was one of the things that they said in the profile. That he might kind of try to come back to the scene of the crime and like try to help and shit like that. Or that he might try to contact the victim's family members or the media or something like that. Which, like I said, I don't think he ever did that. And then they also gave like a bunch of recommendations for when you catch him or catch a suspect, if it's him, they kind of told them how to go about it, like based on this personality type, like how they would have to come across as authority figures and get somebody in there that's not easily manipulated, that can like, you know, lord it over him and stuff like that. That might work out a lot better. So they put this profile together, but while they were doing that, sadly, he killed another person. And this time, this victim was not a sex worker. So this happened June 8th, 1984. And this was a 22-year-old woman named Elizabeth Loudenbach. And she just worked at a factory, like, you know, just on an assembly line. And she went for a walk. She lived like in a mobile home park. She was just going for a walk at night. I don't think it was like super late or nothing like that. But she went for a walk and she never came back. And obviously her mom reported her missing. Like I said, she wasn't a sex worker. She was just taking a walk, you know what I mean? She just had a regular ass job. But they didn't find her body for 2 weeks. So they found her like in an orange grove. So she was, as you can imagine, she was very decomposed after all that time. In fact, I know this is pretty gross, but they said that she was so decomposed that she was almost liquid.
Damn.
By the time they found her. Like I said, this is summer in Florida. It's no joke, y'all. Now this victim, like I said, unlike the first two, because at first they didn't know if this was the same killer, because this woman was not a sex worker, and when they found her, she had all her clothes on. So that was unusual. But they knew she had been strangled because they were able to find her hyoid bone, the hyoid bone, which is broken. So obviously that's indicates strangulation. Now, they didn't find any ropes, and the site where her body was dumped wasn't near an interstate like the other ones had been. So they thought maybe this was a different person. However, when they started examining her clothing, they found some more of those red fibers, like those red carpet fibers, like on her clothes. So at that point, they knew that this was the same guy, even though this is like a different kind of victim. Because at first they were thinking maybe it was just like a copycat or something.
Later they ID'd this victim?
Yeah, I said, yeah, Elizabeth Loudenbach.
What did she do for them?
She just worked at a factory.
Okay.
She's just regular.
She was out running around.
She lived in a mobile home park with her mom, and she just went out for a walk in the evening, and she just didn't come back.
Did he ever explain what he did? You can talk to her.
I don't remember. I don't remember if he talked her into the car. It might be later on in my notes. I don't know. I'll probably say like at the end, like after he gets caught, and like talk about what he did.
Where are we on the notes?
Right here.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So
I actually.
So we still got a lot on the.
Well,
tape.
like we're like halfway.
Okay.
There. Like a little bit more than halfway. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, because Jen knows what's going to happen after this show's over. I built.
I can think of lots of things.
Yeah, I got that curry downstairs waiting.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, that was so good.
Yeah, I made a really fantastic chicken curry.
Sorry, I scared Cookie out of the lid.
I had fresh garlic, and then I had fresh ginger that I was growing out of there. All these ginger roots. I planted that to make ginger garlic paste. Fried that up. Put my Indian spices in there, and then started throwing in chicken, sliced onions, sliced tomato, salt. Later on, yogurt, because I was making yogurt in that Instapot. Yogurt, and then cream. I was slow cooking it, but I topped it off at the end with the yogurt and cream in it. Shit came out so good. Tomorrow's going to be even better. Made a lot of it. So I let it cool off downstairs. But when the show started, I went and I touched it. It was still kind of warm, so I'll be like, all right, it'll be cool enough to put in the refrigerator when the show's over. And I'll microwave some up for me and Jen, put the rest of it in there. So that way we're not running down to Circle K to get a damn foot long. But talking about we're going to eat some curry instead of fucking going to Circle K and eat some Subway. Yeah.
Well, we might go Friday and get.
Yeah, we do it Friday.
Like that, if you feel like it. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's hours and hours away. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't really know how that's gonna go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, this was not his usual victim, but as I said, it seemed like he was just victim of opportunity. Like if there was a woman out alone at night, he was just gonna grab her. You know what I mean?
So he didn't have a particular like anti-hooker bent to him. It was just all any woman.
He hated all women.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's funny though. He had girlfriends and he had kids.
Yeah.
And he had ex-wives. He was
the
just
girl that got away from him said that he told her that.
Really? Just hate women, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Like he was punishing them all.
Just a misogynistic motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. So they found.
It's always an issue when it fucking focuses on women.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
And
I'm pretty violent, dude. I love women.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a professional
we're
soldier.
Pretty awesome as things go.
Yeah, but I'm a professional soldier. If they were to ask me to fucking burn down a whole fucking town and there are women and children in it, I'd do it. But it's just part of the compartmentalized thing. It's not personal. It's just I was ordered to do it. That type of deal. The Army would do that kind of shit for going back. All that shit they did to Japan and everything. Germany. I understand that. I can't understand it. When they're doing it for sexual motive, I just don't understand it. And it's like up close and personal. You know?
Yeah.
For weird internal reasons. Like the woman's done nothing wrong to you. You know? I can understand a little bit more had she done something. You know?
Well, yeah,
like killed your wife. Or, you know what I mean? Or fucking did something like fucking tortured your cat to death. You're going to get fucked up.
Well, yeah.
You know? I mean, chivalry only goes so far, you know. That somebody said we never put hands on a woman. It says you don't know women very well. They have evil women out there, very evil women.
Yeah, some of them should have hands.
They need hands put on them. Normal women, no, because you can reason with them, and they haven't done anything wrong.
Well, I think a lot of the issue, especially with these types of killers, is that they have a bad experience with their mom or with a girlfriend, like a single woman, and they extrapolate that to all women everywhere because they see women as like a hive mind, like they're all the same.
Women do that too. Some of women do that too about men, that men are all the same. Men have similar features, but they're not all exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, just because one dude abuses you doesn't mean they'll all do it.
Yeah. Although I kind of feel like maybe a lot of them probably will. You know what I mean? More than the other way around. But I mean, yeah, it's not good to just like if you had a bad experience with one person.
There are more predatory men.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Than there are predatory women when it's coming to sex.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Especially if there's cultural misunderstandings, because you got some dudes from certain parts of the world where they just see Western women as shit, and they're just going to do whatever they want to them because they're all whores in their mind, you know, because they're culture. You know, so you got to keep in mind that there's fucking cultural differences, and then you just got some dudes that are just by fucking virtue of what class they are, they're just fucking pieces of shit. You know what I mean? They're just kind of abusive to everybody. Because they were kind of abused. You know, so they're just kind of mean. You beat on a dog when it's little, it'll grow up to be a mean dog.
Yeah.
You know?
CB said, I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby Joe Long was masturbating to his mom when he was a teenager. I kind of feel like that might have been some of the issue because he was sleeping in the bed with his mom, and I don't know if that was her idea or his idea.
Probably it had been hers.
Well, the thing about it was that when
because a normal mom would say, "Get the fuck out of here, man."
Well, when he met the girl that would later become his wife, like when he was 13, he's like, "Oh, well, I don't want to sleep with my mom anymore." So it's like, so it might have been partially his idea, and I kind of feel like he was always like on her case about all the slutty clothes she wore, like because she was a cocktail waitress.
On his mom.
Yeah, but like, so I kind of feel like maybe he was attracted to her, and that was repulsing him at the same time.
Maybe.
So I kind of feel like that's his whole Madonna whore thing was because like that's supposed to be your mom, but like also she's kind of slutty, or he perceived her that way. So it's like I think that internalized.
Yeah.
I think that fucked him up. That internal conflict. Yeah. Maybe.
That's weird that there's a conflict because there are a lot of guys who they you know their mom comes from you know their mom might be a stripper, their mom might be whatever, and they're totally normal.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
That's what I mean. So it's like I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that it's like that might be where this. I mean, because obviously this dude had fucking problems. Yeah. Because like you said, a lot of people come from worse situations than he came from.
Yeah.
And turned out fine. So most people turn out pretty okay, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, serial killers are pretty rare.
Look at fucking Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor, one of the fucking greatest comedians in American history, man. Fucking, all fucking comics are kind of tortured. He grew up in a brothel. His mom was a hooker.
Yeah.
But he wasn't fucking crazy. He didn't hate women. He loved women.
Yeah.
So, and I think he loved his mom.
Yeah.
His mom was just trying to put fucking meat on the table. He didn't have a dad.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean.
So he's seeing it as she's sacrificing for me.
Yeah, which is the healthy way to look at it. Yeah, that's exactly what she's doing.
Right. Yeah, she got to run through all these dicks to keep me fed.
Yeah.
Fucking, and that's so he was normal about that. He talked about that in public.
Yeah.
Fucking, I like Pryor. He fucking loved Superman. And being in Superman 3, he thought that was the greatest thing. And then the movie came out and he goes, man, it wasn't as good as 2. Fucking, he was kind of embarrassed. They wanted him to try to kill Superman in the fucking script. And he says, oh, hell no. I'm not going to play any part where I'm in the script trying to kill Superman. Fucking, it's just fucking,
Yeah.
And he said, and the reason being, because he was a little kid growing up, he looked up to Superman.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Because of the situation, he told why,
Yeah. But yeah, all I'm saying is that a lot of people have shitty childhoods.
Yeah. It's just how they're reacting to these shitty childhoods.
Yeah. And that's why I always say, I think for a serial killer to happen, there needs to be a perfect storm of factors. Because honestly, some serial killers don't have shitty childhoods. Some of them have completely normal childhoods, and they still are fuck-ups.
Yeah.
So there has to be a genetic component. And I think a lot of times a shitty childhood will exacerbate that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have a shitty childhood because some of them didn't.
It's weird. It's weird how they're trying to punish women for being, what they think is a bad girl. I love bad girls.
Yeah.
As long as they're not so bad, I can't trust them. But, I just don't understand it. They got a lot of good girls that like bad guys. But as long as you can trust the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same.
Yeah, you don't like them if they're like a really bad person.
Yeah, they're stealing your money and fucking beating you up.
Nobody wants that.
That's not what you're talking about, right? They're talking about Han Solo style bad boy. That's what they're talking about.
Who's really a good person.
He's a good guy, yeah. He's a good guy. He just has to do certain things in a jail.
Yeah.
But he's looking out for you.
Right. That's what I mean. That's what people mean when they say like, oh, women like bad boys and stuff like that. They're like, yeah. We did a whole show though about women that have a thing for serial killers, and those women have issues.
I don't think they'd like those serial killers if that dude was free, though.
No.
They like him only when he's in a cage.
I think him being incarcerated is part of the appeal.
Yeah, because he's safe.
Yeah.
And he can't go anywhere.
Yeah. We talked about that.
And she can control him.
Yeah. And,
that's all that is. If he was free, he'd kill her. Probably.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. Some of them probably, I know her too well. I'm not going to kill her. But, fucking, there's no way.
But you could never trust them, obviously.
No.
It's like they get too mad at you one day and he's like going to cut your head off.
Yeah.
And then have sex with it like Ted Bundy did. But yeah, so they found another body. This is the fourth body, if you're counting. on October 7th, 1984, on a cattle ranch in Hillsborough State Park. Now, this woman had been dead for about a week, and so again, very decomposed. She'd been kind of shoved under this barbed wire fence and was also laying face down like most of the other ones were. And like I said, very decomposed, lots of maggots and things like that. It was not pleasant. Now, she was found nude, but her clothing was all scattered around, like her bra was hanging on the tree, and there was like panties on the fence and shit like that. So she'd been raped and strangled, but her cause of death was a gunshot to the back of her neck, like right here. Now, so because she'd been shot, they weren't initially sure if this was the same. And because she was black, and the other ones had been, well, the first one was Asian, but, like, the other ones were white.
Yeah, the most common interracial relationships, white male, Asian female, so that you can just put them in there with the whites. Because usually serial killers are hunting within their ethnic group.
Yeah, usually.
But most white guys will go for an Asian girl, so that's why that happened. But this one, he would go for a black one, too.
Yeah.
I can see why they were confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, they figured it out pretty quick, but at first, because of her race and because she'd been shot, they were like, maybe this is different.
Yeah, she might have been executed by somebody who she knew, fucking type of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, she was only 18. Her name was Chanel Williams. And she had literally, I think just a day or two before she went missing, she had been booked for prostitution. Had been let out. That's why they had her fingerprints and they could identify her. So yeah, and at first they thought it was a different killer, but then they found those telltale red carpet fibers on her clothes, and they also found a brown pubic hair on her sweater that belonged to the killer, and the semen stains they found on her clothes like matched the ones from the other, like it was the same blood type. You know what I mean? So they're like, okay, so this is obviously the same dude, even though he's changing shit up. So only about a week later, they found a fifth body in northeastern Hillsborough County. Now, she had been, like, her wrists were tied behind her back with a red bandana, and her legs had been tied together with, like, a long shoelace. And there was also a shoelace, like, around her neck, like a big, thick one.
This all takes time. Where's he doing this?
They think maybe he was doing it in the car, or he was taking them to this rural area where he was doing it.
Okay.
You know? I mean, they were obviously in the car for some time because they all had those red fibers. And that's where
he had a weapon on him, was tying her up in the car, maybe.
Yeah, he had a knife and a gun.
Yeah.
And all ropes and shit like that.
And he must be gaslighting her, too. You just fucking go along with everything, you're going to be all right. You give me any shit, I'll kill you. So they think there's a way out. She's okay, I'll just go along with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like that.
Phantom says BJ was the prime definition of misogynistic, that's for sure. Yeah, he literally just hated.
What's weird is that the dude's double Y chromosome male, which means he's got double X chromosome male, which means, you know, he's kind of fucking. He's gonna have kind of like bitch-like qualities to it. He grew fucking breasts and shit. Maybe he's trying to kill the woman within.
It could be that.
He's trying to compensate for his feelings of fucking that he lacks masculinity, so he's trying to become hyper-masculine.
Yeah, the profile actually did kind of allude to that.
That's probably what he's doing.
That he was trying to be like super macho.
So he sees women and fucking he realizes that, you know, there's a lot of that in me, but fuck him, you know, hell no. So he's killing women to kind of like destroy his fear of being internally feminine. Something like that.
Which is so funny to me. It's like being feminine is like the worst thing ever. It's like so funny.
Well, he's trying to live up to what he thinks other men's concept of being a man is. Plus, this was a long time ago. 80s, 70s is when he's growing up. Dudes were supposed to have major swag back then. Yeah. And fucking a lot of homophobia, fear of being gay.
Yeah. That was
so if you got bitch tits, they're probably calling him gay and all kinds of
I'm sure
calling him girl and shit like that. So he's trying to erase any kind of femininity, not only in himself. Maybe his attraction to femininity is somehow fucking disturbing him.
Yeah.
So he hates what he's attracted to, even because it was in him.
Yeah.
So he becomes basically like a fucking a hyper masculine, misogynistic leather daddy. He's actually gay. He's actually something like that. You know, it's man on man is really where he's trying to go. But he hates the fact that he's fucking attracted to women. Something like that.
Yeah. And like I said, all those head injuries.
Because women are
didn't
too
help
fucking
either.
girly, yeah. Yeah, and he's got this sexual impulse
Women,
to just
you're
run
just so
through.
womany.
Yeah, there's all these womany women things.
You womany women.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
a shirt that says that.
Yeah. Look how weak you are.
I'm a womany woman.
Yeah, you womany woman. Look how weak you are compared to me.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm not weak. I'm strong. That's kind of
Yeah.
that's the feeling.
It's
I'm
probably
getting.
just like as
That's
simple
the
as
feeling
that,
I'm
honestly.
getting. You know, I'm just trying to use strategic empathy and put myself in the dude's shoes. You know, he's fucked up, definitely.
CB's wondering if his mom sexually abused him.
That may be too.
It may be. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, they did sleep in the same bed, so which is kind of weird. So that might have gone
So
down
more
too.
conflict.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's
He's
like I
attracted
said,
to women, but it's weird because there's guilt and shit.
Yeah.
And then he's a woman. He feels that he's afraid that he's a woman.
Yeah.
These women are everywhere. They're invasive.
They're getting inside my body.
They're inside my mind and my body. Yeah, yeah. That it's and he's trying to cover it all up with fucking being fucking tough and fucking shit. Yeah. I'm gonna kill these bitches.
Yeah.
He's got
Rape
head
and
injuries.
kill
He's glitching out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he raped like at least 50 women before he even started doing
Yeah.
this shit.
What's Papa think of that? What do you think about that, Papa?
I mean,
Give me your theory.
that does
It's
sound
something like that.
It does sound like that.
Something
actually.
like that.
Yeah.
Injured masculinity.
Yeah.
Overreactions.
Yeah, big time. Someone's little male ego is very, very fragile. I'm thinking. So
It's not very male, if you ask me.
It's not.
No, it's fake.
Yeah.
It's fake. It's
When you have to overcompensate like
Yeah, it's
that,
fake.
it just makes you look kind of weak and pathetic.
Yeah.
I think. If you were a real man, you wouldn't fucking worry about it.
You wouldn't worry about it.
You wouldn't worry about other people thinking if you wonder if you were a real man or not.
Yeah, exactly. What do you
No.
care about? What are you worried about some other man when he thinks you're supposed to be doing what you're doing and liking what you're doing and fuck that dude.
Yeah.
You're a
pretty
man. What are you
much.
worried about another man?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The second you try to like buy some big ass ridiculous truck or something like that, or it's not.
I think that's why I collected some of these gay fans in here because the fucking long time back in the show, it says, man, if I was gay, I would just be a fucking leather daddy. I'd be power gay. I'd be like a fucking power top.
Can I make you a shirt that says
I wouldn't
Power
give a
Gay
shit.
on it?
Yeah, because I wouldn't give a shit with some other dude. It would
Power
just
Gay.
be like Spartan. It's like Greco-Roman warrior homosexuality. That's what I would be into. I would be about male supremacy.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would be about.
I could see that.
That's how it would play out with me.
I mean, you're
If I was gay.
one of the straightest people I know, but
Yeah, but if I was gay, I would be a
But
male
if you-
supremacist.
yeah, you
hell
definitely would. I could totally see that.
Yeah. That's the. Me and Rob Halford would be hanging out in their leather outfits and shit.
Yeah.
Talking about fucking muscle cars.
I want you
Riding
to,
motorcycles.
I want you to start a band called Power Gay.
I'd be fucking Wes from fucking. I'd be Wes from fucking Mad
Yeah,
Max
I
with a
could see
fucking
that.
boy on a chain.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that.
And he's got a girl's name tattooed on his arm with a heart and shit, which means I flipped him.
Yeah.
It wasn't his choice. I'm just so manly. He didn't have a choice. He's gonna be my bitch. It'd be like that. That's how I'd be.
Yeah.
Like something out of a prison.
Papa says, tracks pretty well. Insecurity is the baseline for all serial killers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're having some insecurity issues or they wouldn't be doing this kind of crap. You know? So, yeah. So this...
Make another drink?
Yeah.
This one's gonna be root beer.
Yeah,
vodka.
I know, because that was the last of the tea. Like I said, I just wanted to use it up because
Yeah, I can make more and more.
it was taking up a lot of room in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the pitcher. So I thought I would use it. So this is the fifth victim. As I said, she had her wrist bound with the bandana and she had a shoelace around her neck. She'd also been beaten in the head. She'd been raped, obviously. Her sweatshirt was kind of pulled up, and her torso was like all fucking bruised and bloody, like she'd been beaten. And it looked like she'd also been dragged along the ground. Pretty much that's all she had on was the sweatshirt. All of her other clothes were like scattered around, just like a lot of the other scenes. But the cause of death ended up being strangulation. Now, she was also a sex worker and a known drug addict. And because of that, actually, they recognized her because she had been arrested before. And her fingerprints were on file. So she was 28-year-old Karen Dinsfriend. Thank you very much. And just like the other ones, they found the same red fibers and a very similar pubic hair and semen of the same blood type, like on this body. So it seems like this guy was not really trying to, I mean, yes, it's the 80s, you know, they didn't have DNA and all this other kind of stuff, but he didn't really seem to be trying that hard to cover up his crimes. You know what I mean? Like, he's just kind of, he leaves them in kind of rural areas, but most of them are found within a few days. And he's just like leaving shit from his car all over the place, leaving tire tracks all over the place. Even despite that, it still took him like almost a year to catch him. So, you know. So there's that. Now, the next body, which was the sixth one, they found that one 2 weeks later on Halloween. And that was in a ditch, just on like the side of US 301. Now, this body was actually partially mummified. Like, she still had hair on the skull. So they weren't really sure how long she had been dead. And again, at first, they were kind of like not sure if this was part of the series. And they couldn't identify her for a while. And matter of fact, they didn't know who she was until after they caught him. And then they found out that she was 22-year-old Kimberly Hoops, better known as Sugar. She was also a sex worker. And she had actually been strangled. She had like a cloth choker type necklace, and he had strangled her with that. But like I said, they didn't identify her until after he was caught, and he, admitted to killing her and said what her name was.
He knew her name? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he knew that she was called Sugar.
Okay.
And they knew that that was her name because she'd been arrested before.
Was he a regular with these girls?
It seems that he was, yeah.
Because he knew her name probably because he turned a few fucking deals with her.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think this was kind of the same thing as like that motherfucker we were talking about a couple weeks ago that was picking up the sex workers and stuff. Like,
yeah. Because Ridgway didn't kill them all.
Yeah, well, because you get kind of known for... Because if you just show up and every single person you pick up like never comes back,
then you the killer.
I mean, they're gonna get
right
suspicious like pretty quickly.
Yeah, because I think that's how Gary Ridgway got away with it for so long. Is because he was a regular. Mm-hmm. He was going out with a bunch of girls and then dropping them back off like it was cool, and every now and then he'd strangle one of them.
Yeah, Yates. That's who it was. I couldn't remember his name. But yeah, that's the same kind of.
So they thought it was safe to get in the car with Gary Ridgway.
Yeah.
It wasn't, though.
No.
It wasn't maybe 25% of the time.
Like I said, I wouldn't think it was safe to get in the car with any motherfucker. I don't give a shit what he looks like. You know?
These girls are high risk.
Yeah.
All right. They don't know how to use the internet. This is before the internet.
Well, yeah, this was many years before.
They're trying to jump in a car and suck these dicks and make money to fucking fuel a drug fucking habit and pay off pimps. It's a hard life, man.
It is, man.
And
shit, I was taking a walk. Remember when I used to work at that print shop?
Yeah, you told me about it.
And I would sometimes go take a walk at lunch. It's the middle of the day. It was like noon or something. And I would walk up and down the street and then just come back like to get some exercise. And I'm just like walking, and this dude
trying to get her in a car.
Trying to get me in a car. Like, he's like pulling up in the car and he's like, "Hey, want to ride?" I'm like, "No." And I just keep on walking.
You didn't know why you didn't want to do business with him.
Yeah, and it's just
you were a hooker.
I get, even though, like I said, I had work clothes on.
It don't matter.
Like, I was obviously, and it wasn't like a hooker type. It's just a neighborhood. Man, there were stores and stuff.
Okay. You know the old Starbucks I used to hang out with by the old house. The one you used to go to all the time with me.
I know.
All right. There was a homeless camp on the other side of the street behind Kobe Steakhouse. The state would go down there and fucking drive them out or check on them. For a while, they had a girl that was in there that would go to fucking Burger King and get a Happy Meal. And then she'd eat the Happy Meal and then just walk around with that fucking soda and walk up and down the damn traffic and just keep walking around. And she'd get into a car, and then she'd come back. Then she wouldn't go on the property of any of those businesses because she was afraid that the cops would call her. But she'd stay on the roads. She'd go by and walk in front of fucking Starbucks, and fucking say, hey, wave to everybody, how you guys doing? If you looked at her, you would never know that was a hooker. That was a hooker.
Right, but I wasn't a hooker, and I didn't look like a hooker, and I wasn't waving at people.
She didn't look like a hooker, and you didn't look like a hooker, but that's what
I wasn't waving at people.
The common thing about hookers is that they walk up and down the streets.
Right. But like I said...
So you have guys who are looking for that, because that's their M.O. So they look for girls that are walking up and down the streets, that are dressed normally during the day. Because they think those are hookers. They just project it on anything. Yeah.
He got really mad when I would not get
Yeah, he thought you didn't want to do business with him. He thought you were a hooker.
I guess, but
you
still.
don't. Yeah, the daytime hooker doesn't look like a night.
I didn't walk anymore after that.
She's just wearing shorts. She looks totally normal. Usually carrying a bag or something, a fucking grocery bag or a fucking got a sandwich bag, because she's trying to make it look like she's doing something.
No, I just had my
trying to keep the cops off of her.
Because I usually listen to music, so I had my I had my little phone with my headphones, my earbuds, but I didn't have personal.
He just mistook you for a hooker, but don't take that negatively because.
Oh, I'm gonna take it.
Well, you see, you thinking of hooker, you're thinking of like.
No, I'm not that. I'm not
ass hanging out of the bottom.
No,
I'm
not mad at that.
The stripper shoes. That's like maybe 25%.
I'm mad at him for being stupid.
Yeah.
And then trying to.
Dumbass.
When I just kept walking and obviously didn't want to engage, he just
probably,
kept. And then he tried to block me off.
Probably what it was.
He screeched the car in front of me.
Probably what it was is that he went through that. See, we had this conversation before. Probably what he did was you were probably on his normal route. And he kept seeing you walk up and down that street. She's like, she's working this street. That's what he was thinking. She's working this street. She works here on this street. That's what he's thinking. Because he was a street type motherfucker.
It's just sad you can't even walk for exercise or anything.
You walked for exercise along the same street over and over again. He thought you worked there.
Well, I did work there. I just worked in a print shop.
You just worked in a print shop. He thought you worked on that street.
Well, duh. I know.
Yeah.
I get it, Tom. You don't have to keep repeating it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's just, but like I said, then he tried to cut me off with his car. He pulled in front of me, trying to get, you know what I mean? And I was like, great.
Asked you if you wanted a gun, you wouldn't carry it.
I didn't walk anymore after that.
Yeah.
And the place where I used to work too, the other place, the Van Gogh Vodka, I used to try to walk around that. That was an industrial park. And I used to try to walk around that for exercise too. But then some assholes at some other company and other thing used to keep catcalling me and stuff. So I just stopped walking there too.
Look, here's the deal. If you are walking in the United States in a non-urban setting, so in other words, you're not in the main city, you're not around public transportation, you're walking in a fucking rural or suburban area, they're going to think this girl doesn't have a car, so she's poor, all right? Because there's no public transportation. So she's poor and she's on the street, she's available. She's probably hooking. That's the thinking. When me and you are driving and we see these dudes on the side of the road walking, we go, that's a crackhead. Because it is a crackhead. He don't have a car. And you look at the dude and he's fucking methed out. When you are walking down that same street, you are in that same position. Yeah, she don't have a car. That's a meth head. She's fucking sucking dick. That's what they jump to.
Well, they're idiots.
Woo, that's a good looking hooker. Yeah.
I'm sorry, dudes are idiots.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking now.
They should be better and not be stupid. It's a shame they're so stupid.
They're not innocent like you.
I'm not innocent.
Yeah.
It's just that
you thought that a woman could walk around in daylight safely.
Well, no,
you can't.
You haven't been able to since I was a child.
Yeah.
Because you might be shocked to hear this, but it's worse when you're a minor.
Yeah, I'll imagine so. Yeah.
You start getting
then you're really available.
You start getting it at 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Dudes
because
trying
then
to get
you're
you in
really
the car.
helpless. Yeah.
Every chick I know has a story about that.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Usually by the time you're in your 20s, you're too old for them. they don't bother you anymore. But
yeah.
But yeah, you get it worse when you're a kid, a kid and a teenager. is when it happens the worst. But because like I said, a lot of dudes are fucking gross. So all right, so they found yet another body, November 6th, 1984. Like I said, this dude is just like kill it like every week or every couple weeks. Like it's a spree. This one was actually found in Pasco County, which is the next county over from Hillsborough, which is where Tampa is. This was found on a ranch, like a woman that was out riding a horse, like on her ranch, like found it. Now this one, I'm not real sure because they said that she had severed body parts. So I don't know if he had done that or if just animals had pulled her apart. I wasn't real clear on that because he didn't usually...
Florida animals probably did.
That's what I mean. He didn't usually cut the bodies up, but I don't know. So I couldn't determine because some of the sources were kind of like implied that he had done it, but I wasn't really sure.
Breaks his MO.
That's what I mean. But like I said, some of the other stuff wasn't the same from some of the other things too. Now they did know there was some animal activity, but they, because animals will like scatter stuff around. Now, this woman, when they found her, they thought she'd been dead about 2 weeks. They did find like a cord tied around her neck, and had her wrist bound together like usual. And they thought, she was kind of decomposed, so they were like, well, there's no bullet wounds or anything like that, so probably she was strangled. They were like, well, they knew she was a white woman. They thought she was about 20 years old. But she was not actually identified until later after Bobby Joe Long was caught. And she was actually found to be an 18-year-old named Virginia Johnson, who was also a sex worker who'd been working on Nebraska Avenue, as many of them were. Not too long after, November 12th, 1984, there was another body found. Now, this had the same noose leash thing, like around the neck, and had rope burns all over her. She'd been beaten really badly in the face, and just like Lana Long, she had also had her legs broken and forced open. This was the second one that was done like that. Now, her clothing was scattered around, as a lot of the other ones were, and there was actually poop on her. I don't know if it was hers or his. I could never find anything about that.
Depends on where it was.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. Like, some of the sources said it was on her shirt, but some of them said so. I don't know if... I was like, that's fucked up.
No, it makes sense.
Did that.
It makes sense. He stripped her naked. She shit herself, tried to make herself disgusting. He fucking grabbed her shirt and fucking wiped her ass with it.
Maybe.
Probably what happened.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any of the other ones had that.
Yeah, she was trying to fucking... That's a great plan.
They do tell you, like, when I was in, I think I was in 7th grade, I was in junior high, we had an officer come and do, like, a rape prevention. They had all the girls in the gym.
Yeah.
And they did a rape prevention, and that was one of the things that he said.
You do whatever you can to get
He's like, make yourself gross. Like, throw up on yourself, shit yourself, anything. Like, he said that. Yep. Like, you're trying to stay alive, you know?
Yep. It's probably what she did.
Don't be shy.
It's probably what she did. And he cleaned her up anyway.
Yeah.
Using her clothes.
That might have been what happened.
Yeah. Which meant he was dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't easily fucking dissuaded.
Yeah, I guess not. And maybe that just made him madder.
Yeah, maybe.
It might have.
That probably didn't make him madder. He was going to kill her anyway.
True.
He just, I see what you did there. That don't affect me.
Yeah, I don't care about
that's all it was, bro.
Right. It's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Don't worry about making that motherfucker mad. You do that.
I mean, like I said, just do anything.
Try everything.
Yeah. Anything. Fucking scream, stick a pencil in his fucking ear, anything. Or stick your thumbs in his eyeballs.
Most women can't resort to violence because they'll lose. So you have to fucking use all kinds of things that are available in nature. A lot of animals play dead, or they fucking play sick when they're captured, or they shit themselves. Stink bugs, that kind of anything to make themselves disgusting or unappetizing. And you would think about it, sex is a form of food, really. Food and sex is part of something that he can consume. So yeah, make yourself nasty and unattractive. It's just hard to find out what makes a motherfucker nasty, but it's gonna be. That would probably work though. You could piss yourself. I don't think he'd care.
Probably not.
But if
I don't think most people
yourself, you probably would.
Yeah.
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 Threw up on yourself, maybe.
Yeah. That was one of the things that officer told us. To like barf on yourself. if you can manage it.
I've heard of cases where dudes got put off, over minor shit. Like, girl bashed her head against a glass trying to get out of a fucking car and fucking cut her up pretty bad. She got bloody everywhere, and he just kicked her out of the car and left. Because he didn't want blood on himself, all the fucking...
Right.
All the evidence and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're in that situation, you
do whatever you can.
Anything to get out of it.
Yeah.
So...
She didn't look attractive when she had all that blood all over, and he didn't want to get that on him. He'd have her blood on his clothes and shit. He couldn't risk it.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't work with everybody, but it worked with that one. You just do what you can.
Yeah. Like I said, you never know, how... Because different ones react to different things, so you never really know.
Some dudes, you might be able to sweet talk your way out of it.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that kind of happened in this situation, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah. So this woman, they thought she'd probably been dead about 3 days, and that she'd probably been strangled. They did actually find a pair of jeans nearby, and it had a driver's license in it. And so the victim was identified as a 21-year-old named Kim Swan. And she, like Lana Long, she had also worked at the Sly Fox Lounge. She was a dancer there. And they also found the same red carpet fibers on her clothing, so they knew that it was linked. Now, you would think with all of this evidence, but like I said, I mean, it was 1984, so they didn't have, all the technology that we have nowadays. And even nowadays, they still can't catch people. But, they were working their asses off for sure, but they couldn't catch the guy, right? And, Bobby Joe Long was, not even on their radar, at all. He wasn't even a suspect. So, they put, they even did a thing where, this is pretty standard procedure, but they took, some female detectives and, dressed them up as hookers and put them out on the street and tried to get them to, see if they could find this guy and shit like that. But, nothing really panned out. And then a 17-year-old girl named Lisa McVey was abducted. And this, even though no one knew it at the time, would actually be the break in the case. This was what got this motherfucker caught. And like I said, if you have not seen, it's a Lifetime movie, but it's really good, trust me. Because a lot of Lifetime movies are kind of cheeseball, but this one wasn't cheeseball. But there's a Lifetime movie, and it's on Hulu right now. It might be on somewhere else, but it's called Believe Me, and it's about her. And like I said, she is a total fucking badass. She's a 17-year-old girl. So, this, again, she was not a sex worker. She just was a regular-ass girl, went to school. She worked at Krispy Kreme, and usually worked at worked the night shift, you know what I mean? Now, so she had gotten off work. She had just done a double shift at Krispy Kreme, and she was riding her bike home, and it was about 2 a.m. She didn't have a car, so she was riding her bike. This was November 3rd, 1984, and basically, he was just... She said later that she saw a car in the parking lot, and she thought it was kind of weird, but she didn't really think too much about it. I mean, she seemed pretty aware of her surroundings, because she rode home at night all the time.
Working and targeted her.
Well, they thought that maybe he had parked there and seen her riding home before.
Yeah.
At least one night prior, because she thought she had seen that car the previous night also. So he basically just kind of flanked her and then just came out and just grabbed her off her bicycle. He just jumped out of the bushes and pulled her off her bike. And he had a gun to her head and said he also had a knife. He put a blindfold on her so she couldn't see his face and forced her into the car. So she's obviously freaking the fuck out right now. And he was basically she was obviously saying, please don't kill me, and just you're gonna do what I want or I'm gonna kill you. So he parks the car, makes her take all her clothes off, and makes her give him a blowjob. And then drives her around in the car, he laid her down in the seat. She has a blindfold on, she can't really see anything. And he's driving around for a little while, and he, weirdly, took her back to his apartment, which he had not done with any of the other victims.
He liked this one.
Yeah. So he basically kept her hostage for 26 hours.
Yeah, what happened here is that she's not a hooker. So in a way, he's got some respect for her. He sees her as she's a good girl. And he pulled off this little mission with her, and she behaved herself. So in some ways, he must have found that endearing. He goes, I'm going to take her home with me. And he was probably just playing this shit by ear. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I think he's starting to get feelings for the girl. He probably doesn't want to kill her. He thinks he has to, though.
It did seem like she said that he did say that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like, he did threaten to kill her, but for reasons I'll get into in a minute, she was kind of used to dealing with abusers.
Yeah.
So she knew that she had to appease this person, like, to keep her ass alive. So she basically kind of, like, acquiesced.
Yeah, he's finding this acute, I think.
Yeah.
And I think he's feeling sorry for her.
Yeah. But he takes her
back. Because the
back.
other ones were tough street broads. They probably fought a little bit or talked shit.
Yeah.
Or he didn't respect them from the very beginning anyway. Because they were hookers, so there was nothing they could probably do. You know what I mean? I think he sees this as a real person.
Yeah, I mean, he might have. So he takes her back to the apartment. Like I said, she has a blindfold on, but she has the presence of mind to sort of... She's kind of like... When he put the blindfold on her, she said... She's like, I clenched my jaw really hard so that when he put it on, like, and then I loosened my jaw, like maybe it would loosen a little bit so I could see out the bottom.
Yeah.
So she could kind of see out the bottom of it, like while it was dry, because she was laying back in the seat in the car. So she didn't know exactly where the apartment was, but she knew the general area. And then when he forced her into the apartment, she looked at she's like, okay, there's red carpet on the stairs, and there's 19 stairs, and all this other, like, she counted, and she tried to remember, like, every single thing. And so he takes her into the apartment, and he kept her for 26 hours, and he basically just, like, raped her multiple times, sodomized her multiple times, and just made her do all of this shit. And she was just like, I didn't want him to kill me, I wanted to get out. And the ironic thing, she said later, was that she had been enduring abuse since she was a child, and her grandmother's boyfriend was sexually molesting her with the full knowledge of her grandmother, and I believe her mother also knew that was happening.
Would they need the dude's money or something?
I don't know.
That's some weird shit.
Yeah, it was a weird situation. Like, the movie, like, if you see the movie, which is based on her book, like, they go way into it. Yeah. So she was the night she was abducted, she said, she was going to commit suicide. She had written a note and everything. Huh. Because she couldn't take it anymore.
Weird. It's almost like the hand of God.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of how she saw it. Like, she didn't say it in those words, but she was just kind of like, you know, it was kind of ironic that I didn't want to live that night, but then, like, after that happened, like, she got a new...
Made her want to live long.
Yeah.
Made her want to live.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You don't want somebody else to take your life. You want to do it yourself. When somebody else takes your life, no, fuck it, then you value life.
Now, I don't know if this really happened. This was in the movie, so take this with a grain of salt. But he asked her how old she was, because he didn't want her to be a minor. He didn't seem to have a problem with fucking with minors before, but it's like he didn't want to get in even more trouble, I guess. So she knew that, and she was only 17. So she lied and said she was 19. But then he was watching the news, and the abduction was on there, and they said she was 17, and he got really mad.
Why?
Or no, I think on the news they said she was a teenager, and he got like, he's like, you lied, you said you were, and she's like, no, I'm 19. You know what I mean? They just said teenager. Like, she was, so that was like, he got really mad at her because of that. But so she was able to, like, talk him down.
What did he care?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
You would think her being younger that he would actually feel sorry for her more.
I mean,
don't know why she played that card.
I don't know. But like I said, she seemed to instinctively know that he didn't want her to be underage. So she lied and said she was older. But she was, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want that, but because I think he wanted permission to kill her.
Yeah, probably.
And he wanted internal permission to kill her. I think she played that one wrong. I'd have told her, no, I'm 17. Because I think what it was keeping her alive at this point is her innocence.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think he likes her.
Well, I mean, she did.
Even
live,
though all this
so.
abuse is happening, he's like, I think he's got some respect for her. That he sees her as a real person, and I think he's kind of he's gonna fulfill himself. He's a fucking serial rapist, and he's got fucking, and the motherfucker's not normal. I mean, he's a jack off artist and shit, so he's very hypersexual. But I think he kind of regrets it. I think I think that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
I think he's regretting what he's doing. Because I think it's probably a lot easier if it's a hooker. Because fuck, that's a bad girl in his mind. It's okay. Nobody
and
cares about
trash,
them. They're trash. That's what he's thinking. This chick works at Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
What has she done wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's works in a donut shop.
Right. Now, earlier, when he was in the serial rapist mode, he let a lot of them go back then.
Well, as far as they know, all of them lived.
Yeah.
And those were just regular ass women. They weren't sex workers. They were just lived in a house and were
Right.
selling some furniture.
Right.
In the paper.
But it's easier to kill sex workers. So what I think he's thinking about is he's thinking, well, you know what? She's just a regular civilian. Maybe I'll let her go like the old ones, like the other ones.
Yeah.
That's what he's probably thinking. Okay, but I'm just putting myself in his shoes, trying to see how he would be thinking. Probably that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
He's differentiating between them. That's why he didn't kill the other ones. They were innocent.
Well, like I said, I don't know if that thing where she lied about her age, I don't know if that really happened, but that was in the movie, so I'm not really sure.
Right. Yeah. That might just be the movie.
I mean, like I said, the movie was based on her book, and from what I heard, the movie was very accurate.
Well, she lived anyway, so...
So, yeah.
She lived anyway.
And
19 is still young. That's still young. So that would be like, she's a little too young to kill. You know what I mean? Even at 19. But I think as she's thick with 17...
Well, no, he killed some 18-year-olds, so he didn't have
But they were hookers, though.
that. Yeah.
They were hookers, though.
Well, not that one. That
No?
one just worked at a factory.
Okay, all right. Okay, then I was wrong about that.
So he didn't really care.
Maybe he regretted that one, though. Who knows? This motherfucker might be getting some kind of weird kind of conscious. Get kind of weird conscious.
I mean,
about
it could be. Well, and she said it was real strange because she's like, sometimes he almost seemed like, and they showed this in the movie too. It's like she's like seemed really concerned about me being clean. She's like, the apartment was really clean.
Yeah.
You know, like the bathroom and everything like that. Like it was spotless.
He's ex-military.
And she's like, so he made me go in the bathroom and take all my clothes off, and then he made me get in the shower, and then he got in with her and started washing her hair. Yeah. And she's like, and then he was like kind of cuddling up on her, like on her back and stuff. Yeah. She's like, he would do that, but then like after, like he threw her down on the floor and raped her again. Yeah. Like violently. So it's like, so he was like a Jekyll and Hyde type of character. Yeah. Kind of.
Well, he wants sex. But then, I think he wants to care about her too.
Yeah, like he almost wanted some, like she got the feeling that he wanted some connection. Yeah. And didn't know how to do that. Right. Which is how she kind of played it. Right. You know what I mean?
And then he shakes it off. And then he shakes it off and gets rough with her because he's kind of like ashamed of his fucking feelings for her. Yeah. He's kind of, that's probably what's happening. He's like, oh, I don't want to show weakness.
Yeah, it might have been that. Yeah. So now, while they were driving around too, she noted that he stopped at a ATM to get some cash out. And at that point, when he got out of the car, like to use the ATM, she was kind of looking. So she was looking at all of the inside of the car, and she was able to determine. She's like, it said Magnum on the dashboard. She's like, the interior was white. She didn't see the carpet, which was red because that's where the fibers were. But she saw the seats and everything were white, so she was able to like give a description like later on. And she's like, in the car, she saw the outside of the car too, and she said it was like a dark red or maroon, so she knew that. And then she kind of got a little bit of a look at him, but she couldn't really get a good look at his face because she had a blindfold on. However, like one time while he was kind of raping her, he let her touch his face. So she kind of touched his face like she was being all intimate and stuff. And so she was able to determine that he had kind of had a pockmarked complexion, that he had a little mustache, like what his hair was like, all this other kind of like what his nose was shaped like. And she remembered all of that. You know what I mean? Like the whole time she was just storing all of this information away.
If Adam said that Chanel, the black girl, was 18.
She was also 18, yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be easy to kill her. She was another race. It's easier for them to dehumanize a person who is of another race, usually. Fucking this is all by my studies says that. So he didn't count that one like the other one. So not only was misogynist, he was racist.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, what a shocker. Those things generally tend to go together.
Yeah, yeah.
You hate everyone that's not like you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, tends to go together. But yeah, so she also had the presence of mind to take like a barrette or a hairpin out of her hair that had some of her hair on it, and while he wasn't looking, she threw it under his bed, so like they would find it later on, so she could prove she'd been there. And then she talked him into letting her go to the bathroom by herself, and then she put her fingerprints all over everything, all over the mirror, under the toilet seat, all over the bathtub. She's like, she just put fingerprints everywhere she could think of it.
Did she pull? She must have pulled the fucking. She must have fucking pulled her blindfold out.
And she just put them everywhere because she's like, even if I got killed, like I wanted to prove that I'd been here so they could catch this guy. You know what I mean? Because she kind of thought she was gonna get killed. Now in the movie, I don't know if she did this in real life, but in the movie they showed her biting her pinky finger while she was in the car and like smearing the blood like on the underside of the seat so like he wouldn't see it. That was again so she could prove she'd been in his car.
Man, she bit herself pretty hard there, huh?
Yeah, so she drew blood and then like got not a lot but like a little bit. So she said that after a while, you know, he'd been brutalizing her and stuff like this whole time, but it's like he kind of said that he started to trust her and started like not, because before it had been like bitch this, bitch that, you know what I mean?
Did he feed her?
He gave her a sandwich.
All right.
Like he made her a sandwich. It looked like a pretty lame sandwich, but you know what I mean? And she said that he told her that he wished he could keep her there. And she actually told him, because like I said, she had experience with dealing with this kind of bullshit. So she would tell him, it's like, you know, you seem like such a nice guy. I can be your girlfriend if you want. I won't tell anybody how we met. Like, stuff like that. Like, she tried to kind of stroke his ego a little bit.
Yeah, what if he believed that?
And make him feel bit. I mean, he seemed to, I guess. Like, he stopped beating up on her.
So he was beating her? Too?
Well, I mean, he was just raping her brutally. So it's just like, you know what I mean? And then... But yeah, he would like wash her hair and brush it and stuff like that. It's like really fucking weird. And she's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, oh, you know, women, I hate women, like they all suck, and like this one woman fucked me over and I'm just punishing everybody. That's basically what he said to her. And so after like 26 hours, he puts her back in the car, and she's not entirely sure if he's taking her somewhere to kill her.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
I mean, I think that's kind of what she assumed.
Yeah.
And so, because she still had the blindfold on.
Yeah.
And then he just basically stopped the car, like at this park or something like that, and said, get out, bye. Like, take care.
Yeah.
And she left. She just got out, and he didn't. And she's like, she was freaking out because like the whole time she ran back home. It's like 4 a.m, and she's like, every time I heard a car, I thought it was him, like coming back to get me, like he changed his mind. Let her out,
she didn't see the car.
Well, he said no. She still had the blindfold on, and he said, "Don't look at me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, stay there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like by this tree or whatever." And then, but like she waited until the car was gone, and then because she wanted to make sure he was gone. So she runs home. Like I said, it's 4 or 4:30 in the morning. And like I said, this poor girl had been enduring this horrible abuse.
Imagine her family was looking for her. Yeah, of course. Because she was on the news.
Yeah, but they didn't really seem to give that much of a shit.
Okay.
They thought that she had just run away.
Okay, yeah.
And I think, at least according to the movie, that her mom was also a piece of shit and was kind of a crackhead.
All right.
And had sent her to live with the grandmother. Go take care of your grandmother.
And go get raped by that dude.
But then the grandmother's boyfriend was abusing her, and it's like, oh, well, you'll learn how to treat a man. Like, shit like that. It was that kind of situation.
Weird. That's some weird shit there, man.
So, and that had been going on for a long time. So, so she was used to appeasing abusers, is what I'm saying. So she kind of knew what to do in this situation, and that's kind of why she was able to kind of keep her head because she's like, well, here's more of this. I'm used to this bullshit. You know what I mean? And then her grandmother's boyfriend beat her up for cheating on him.
Cheating on him?
Because I know you were just out running. Uh-oh.
What was
Did
that?
it disconnect? Okay. I might have to repeat that because it might have, It said it disconnected for a second. Okay. Yeah, the boyfriend thought that she had run away and was out fucking somebody else, which was cheating on him.
It's ridiculous.
So he beat the shit out of her when she got back.
He considered himself to be in a relationship with her?
I guess so.
And her grandma.
Yeah. And the grandma knew about it.
Wow, shit.
That's what I mean.
How'd the grandma justify
Florida.
it? And then the mom.
Florida.
That's some weird shit. No, that ain't Florida.
No, I'm just saying.
That ain't fucking normal.
No, yeah, well, obviously it's not. But I tease. But, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, so there was that going on. So they obviously did not believe her. Now the grandma basically said to the cops, oh, she's home, don't worry about it. She's fine. But because she said she'd been kidnapped, the cops were like, yeah, I'm going to have to talk to her. Yeah. You know what I mean? Thank God. So she goes to the police station, like they come and pick her up, and she goes down and gets interviewed. And
did she tell on the granddad? I would have told on the fucking granddad. I would have told on all those bitches.
She did.
Yeah.
When she got down there.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So what happened was she goes down there, and she tells them at first. She tells them the whole fucking story. It's like, look, I was coming home from work. This dude snatched me off my bike. She had a description of the car. She had a description of the guy. She said he's in his 30s. He has a deep voice. He has brown hair. He has a mustache. All this other kind of stuff. She even remembered that he had small ears. He had nice teeth. It's like she remembered everything. And even she couldn't see him that good, but she had like felt his face,
Right.
She described kind of roughly where the apartment might have been. Like I said, she couldn't see that good, but she kind of knew the area. She said about the bank, she said that the car was red or maroon. She thought it was a Dodge Magnum, which it was. And she also said that, like she knew where the bank was. Yeah, I said that already. Okay. Now, the first detective that interviewed her did not believe her at all. She thought that, oh, this girl just ran away and got into some trouble and then came up with this crazy story so her parents wouldn't beat on her or whatever. And she's like, nobody that went through 26 hours of being repeatedly raped and sodomized is this cool and collected and remembers this many small details. So, as Lisa is telling her story over and over, she is getting, understandably, much more frustrated with every iteration, until she finally says, after having to repeat herself again and again, and this person not believing her, she says, bring me someone more intelligent.
That's a good thing.
And I was like, fucking legend.
Yeah.
Legend. That's awesome. 17-year-old girl. Bring me someone more intelligent. Thankfully, they did. I think
they must have been watching the interview.
Yeah, the dude's name was Larry Pinkerton, I think, that came there. And he was with the sex crimes unit. And he had a daughter about her age. And he went in there and listened to the story. And he believed her immediately. Like I said, thank God, because nobody else did. Nobody else did. So now, as far as I know, she did while she was there when she was talking to Pinkerton. They were like, he's like, how the fuck did you like keep your head like during all of this crap? It's like not most people wouldn't be able to do that. And that's when she said, oh, well, by the way, my grandmother's boyfriend has also been doing this crap to me for like years and years. At which point I believe they did go and arrest him, and they took her out of that home. And they put her in like a, not like an orphanage, but you know what I mean? Like a temporary housing, like for kids in the system. And then she eventually went and lived with her aunt and uncle. And when she got older, and I thought this was really cool too, like when she got older, she actually ended up working as a sheriff's deputy for the same sex crimes unit that ended up catching Bobby Joe Long. And she also, she's like a school resource officer, so she goes and tells kids, teaches kids how to protect themselves from predators and things like that. So it's like she really took this experience. Not only did she get this motherfucker caught, but she also took the experience and like made something positive about it. So like I said, she's fucking badass. She's a badass woman. So, so they have this task force. Now, initially, because she had been let go, they didn't at first associate her abduction with the string of murders, because they've been looking for this dude, right? But they didn't associate the two things because it was kind of different, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, she was abducted late at night on the street and everything, but she wasn't a sex worker. It's like, you know, he kept her at his apartment for a long time and let her go, which hadn't been done previously, so they thought maybe this was something else. So what they did, though, at least one of the detectives had a little bit of a hunch. So they said, you know what? Give me her clothes that she had on when she was abducted. So they took those and they sent them to the lab. And lo and behold, they found the same fucking red fibers on her clothes. At which point, they knew this was the same fucking guy. So they're like, holy shit. She just gave us a description of the serial killer, his car, and his apartment. And we just need to go and fucking find this motherfucker. So because they know what the car looks like, they put an APB ad on that or whatever. Now, sadly, before they could catch him, he actually did kill another woman. It was a sex worker. She got in the car, and she actually fought against him, and he ended up strangling her. And he drove around with her dead body in the car for a while. Like, he even stopped for gas and shit like that, and, like, nobody noticed.
She was in the passenger seat?
Yeah.
She must look like she was asleep.
I guess so. But, yeah, like, he dumped her out later on, and then, like, later they found her. Now, they actually... Okay, so they're out looking for this car. They don't know who it belongs to yet, but they know what the car looks like. So they're out looking for that, and in about mid-November, a couple of detectives were out cruising around the area, and they see this red Dodge Magnum. So they pulled him over and check his license, and lo and behold, it's Bobby Joe Long. And where he lived was right around the area where she thought the apartment was. Like I said, she didn't know exactly where it was, but she kind of knew some of the street names.
She knew the azimuth and the distance.
Yeah, like, because she'd seen a few of the signs, from underneath the blindfold, and so she kind of told him, like, where it was. And when they looked into the car interior, there was red carpet, on the floor. So they're like, interesting. Now, they didn't want to spook him. So at first, when they pulled him over, they said, hey, there was a bank robbery nearby, and they described the suspect as driving the same car as this. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I didn't do that shit. And he's like, yeah, well, can we just take a picture of you then, just so we can rule you out? Yeah. And he let them. Yeah. Take a Polaroid of him.
He's like fucking BTK. He didn't know the cops could lie.
Yeah. He's like, so we need to take a picture of you.
Yeah.
So after they did that, they took the, all the photographs back, and they put it in a lineup for Lisa, and she's like, that's the motherfucker right there. Yeah. That's him. Like, she had identified him immediately. And then when they went back and looked at all the bank transactions from the time that she said that he'd stopped at the bank, the camera and everything like that it was him. And they're like, okay, well, this is the only guy that got money out of the bank when she said, and has this car and lives in this area, so this has got to be him. So they actually put him under surveillance. Like, they looked into his criminal record and saw that he'd had an aggravated assault thing from previous, because that's what the profile had said, that he was going to have a prison record. So they put him under surveillance, and they tapped his phone. And after, I believe he was under surveillance for only 24, 48 hours, something like that. And at first, they're like, they wanted to get him for the murders, but they're like, okay, well, we're not quite sure because we don't have all the evidence yet. However, because we have a living witness who can identify him, they can pick him up for kidnapping and sexual battery and keep him in custody until they get evidence for all the other kind of stuff. So they also seized his car and tore it all apart. And the funny thing is that he went to the movies. They were watching him. He went to the movies. I believe he went to see Missing in Action, the Chuck Norris movie.
Chuck Norris, yeah.
Because I was like, when I heard that he'd been caught outside a theater, I'm like, I wonder what movie it was. So I looked it up. I'm pretty sure it was Missing in Action. And when he came out of the theater, the cops surrounded him and they arrested him. The funny thing is that when that Lifetime movie that I said, Believe Me, about Lisa McVey, when that came out, they showed it for one night only at that theater where he had been caught in front of, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, they did that. So yeah, that's when he got arrested. So they searched his car. They pulled out all the carpet and everything like that. Obviously, the carpet fibers matched all the shit that was on the bodies. And when they found his apartment, it looked exactly like she had described it. And they found the barrette that she had left under the bed and all her fingerprints that she said she left in the bathroom.
Got a super chat.
Thank you very much, the Shaby. Great show, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, you guys. You guys are so
awesome
generous.
Contributors, yeah.
So generous to us all the time. We love doing the shows for you guys. But yeah, so they also found in his apartment a bunch of pictures of naked women and some photos of him raping women. So there's that. And they also found some pieces of clothing that belonged to some of the victims because he had taken them as trophies. So
he was taking pictures of them while they were alive?
Yeah, I guess so. Like I said, most of them in his car, or because she was the only
Polaroids, huh?
Yeah, she was the only one that that he took to the apartment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So yeah, so they interviewed this guy and found out, he'd once been married, he had 2 kids, and he was unemployed at this stage, but he had once worked at a hospital as an X-ray tech. And they asked him. I mean, he pretty much confessed right away to kidnapping and raping Lisa McVey. He's like, yeah, I had sex with her a bunch of times. And he tried to...
Say it was consensual, right?
Yeah, he tried to tell the cop... Well, she told me that she didn't want to leave. I was like, yeah, she was saying that so you didn't kill her ass, dummy. And he even said, well, I had a gun, but I took the bullets out and put them in the garbage so I wouldn't be tempted to kill her. Like he said shit like
That's
that.
something you want to tell the cops. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was that.
What was the firearm? Do you remember? Okay.
I don't know. So he admitted to that right out the gate. But then they lay pictures of 5 of the murder victims. They're like, "Hey, you happen to know anything about these?"
Shitting his pants.
And he was like, "No, I don't know who those are." Like he totally denied it. And then they were like, by the way, we found all this shit in your apartment. We found all this shit in your car. We found all this other kind of stuff. And then after they said how much physical evidence they had, he basically said this, and I think this is a direct quote. He said, well, I guess you got me good. Yeah. Yes, I killed them. All the ones in the paper. I did them all, he said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because he knew he was busted.
Yeah, he was smart enough to know that there was no way out of it.
Yeah. And the thing about it, some people have speculated that he might have let Lisa McVey go because he wanted to get caught on some level. Because he did say to the cops, I knew letting her go would get me busted pretty much. But then they're not sure if he was just saying that because he wanted to be in control of the situation. Like, oh, I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean?
No,
it could be one or the other.
What I think happened is that he liked her.
Yeah.
He felt bad about killing her. So he was going to put her in the earlier category of when he would just rape him and let him go. He was doing that. All right. But when he was doing that, he was probably thinking, it's risky. I'll probably get caught. But you know what? She's kind of cute. I'm going to let her go. I like her. Yeah. There's a chance she won't tell. There's a chance that, I'll get away with it. We'll just see how it goes. That's what he did.
Yeah.
So then he gets caught and he goes, yeah, I knew I probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. But once they...
He didn't want to kill her, though.
Yeah.
She worked at Krispy Kreme. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
A little white girl living at Krispy Kreme. Turns out she was a victim. She said that, her grandfather, her grandmother's boyfriend was abusing her, and he's like, oh, man, that fucking sucks.
I don't even know if she said that. She gave him a story. It's like, oh, my dad's really sick, and I have to get home and take care of him, or something like that. Like, I think she gave him, like, a sob story.
Yeah. So he thought she was innocent. He was gonna let her go. He felt bad about her.
Yeah.
Didn't mean he wasn't gonna rape her.
Well,
he wasn't gonna kill her.
Yeah, he did many, many times.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many times.
Yeah, well, it's him first.
Yeah.
He comes first,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He's one of those motherfuckers.
He's one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
But he saw that as real fucking... he did her a favor. Which in a way he did. In a way he did. He was killing the other ones. It's just, I think that one was hard for him to kill. So he just, I'm going to let her go.
Yeah.
She had humanized herself.
Yeah. And like I said, I was just amazed at, and they go into this a lot in the movie, but she just, because she was so, like I said, it's kind of sad that she was so used to being fucking abused that, I'm not going to say it didn't faze her, because obviously she was terrified because she thought she was going to get killed. But that she had, in that situation, that she had the presence of mind to just catalog every tiny piece of information. That was the only way she could
fight back.
Yeah, that's like, and she just kept remembering and remembering. Yeah. And like when they interviewed her, that's why they didn't believe her at first, because they're like, there's no way.
They think you'd be out of your mind. You're 17.
Yeah, that like you wouldn't remember any of that, or why would you even think to do that in that situation, or anything like that. But like I said, she stayed pretty fucking. She said she did freak out like one time, after one particular thing, but she's like the rest of the time she stayed pretty chill.
Yeah. And
she was like, she's like, even if I get killed, I want them to catch this guy. Yeah. So she's like, so I want them to know I was here, and I want them, so, you know, so she was kind of thinking along those lines. So she really kept her shit together, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So after he admitted that he had killed all the women, he gave like a couple of details about stuff that he had done, nothing about the weird wrenching the legs apart or anything. But one of the women that wasn't a sex worker, Elizabeth Loudenbach, he actually said that he had given her a ride. She just worked at a factory, and she was just walking, and he gave her a ride, and he's like, I was going to let her go, but then he said she jerked me around.
That was the black girl?
No.
Or was that another one? Okay.
It was a white girl.
What did jerk me around mean?
I'm not really sure. Like, I think she just tried to fight him, and then he's like, oh, well, I just had to kill her. And he also took her purse and used her bank card.
Huh.
Also, like, stole some money from her, too. So there was that. And then one of the women that he killed,
jerked him around. She tried to escape.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah. Because he broke a promise or something.
Yeah, because he was probably like, hey, if you just suck my dick, like, everything will be fine. And she's like, yeah, no, bro, I'm not doing that. And that to him probably constituted jerking him around.
Yeah, you lied to me.
Yeah. You're supposed to just suck my dick, you know?
She defied him.
Yeah, she might have tried to fight him. That's probably why. But yeah, so he actually ended up confessing to a couple of murders that they didn't know that were just missing persons. You know what I mean? I mentioned them before. But they actually went and he showed them where the bodies were. So that's how you get to... I think they charged him with 8 murders. Although I'm pretty sure he did 10. They charged him with 8 and then like 50 counts of rape or something like that too. But he also identified another victim that they didn't know about, like I said, that was missing person, who was a 21-year-old named Vicky Elliott. And she had actually was also not a sex worker. She was walking to or from work. She worked at the midnight shift at the Ramada, like the hotel. And he snatched her off the street or gave her a ride or whatever. And she actually fought him. She tried to stab him with some scissors, and he strangled her.
Yeah.
And then he ended up having to draw a map to where her body was, so they didn't even know that he had killed her. She was just like a missing person.
That's why he let the other one go.
Yeah.
The other one complied, and he felt sorry for her.
Yeah, I think that's something probably like what it was.
Yeah.
So he wrote like a 45-page confession of all of the stuff. And it was really only at this stage that they realized this is the classified ad rapist too. Because they hadn't initially like linked those two things together, because those happened a long time prior, and in different cities. Look, so what
I don't want to fucking tell you, girls, just because this girl fucking survived because she complied and did shit like that do not comply.
I mean, that doesn't work with everybody.
Statistics show evade. Get the fuck out of there. You can't. You fight. Be inconvenient. That he's gonna kill you anyway.
I gotta pee.
But so he's probably he's gonna kill you anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
statistically,
they always tell you don't let him take you to another location.
Yeah, don't let him take you anywhere. Fucking all kinds of shit. But sometimes a woman can't help it. I mean, shit. There was, if you look at McDuff, we haven't talked about McDuff yet. He was a real fucking piece of shit bag. He was a real piece of work. He was a shit bag, and he had some shitty ass fucking accomplice. There was one time where they pulled up on a girl who was washing her car in a car wash. You know how the car wash stalls are? They jumped out of a van. I think they were in a van, if I remember, or maybe it was just a car, and ran down either side of the car. She couldn't get away. They grabbed her, and they would select a woman for being small. So, they were looking for somebody around 5 feet tall or smaller. And these were big dudes, you know what I mean? They just fucking grabbed her, picked her up, threw her in the back of the car. McDuff was back there fucking beating her up, fucking burning her with cigarettes, did all kinds of shit. Eventually, they were sexually assaulting her, taking turns. Eventually, they took her out, beat her to death. So there are certain situations where a woman cannot prevent being abducted.
Well, this girl, he just jumped out the bushes and snatched her off her bike and threw her in the car.
They're starting to pick you up.
Yeah, I think she was just small.
In and if there's two of them, and they're both big, but the thing is that fighting, and that little girl who got, that they burned her with a cigarette, she was fighting like, the one other guy, not McDuff, but his accomplice said that fucking his ears were fucking ringing from her screaming. She fought like a fucking cat, but there was nothing she could do. Eventually, she just gave up. She begged him. She says, "Can you save me from him?" And he's like, "There's nothing I can do with him." And dude, fucking eventually just beat her to death with his fists.
I mean, if it's more than one dude, it's like you don't really have much.
Yeah, there's nothing you can really. But
not really.
You just do whatever you can. You know?
Exactly. Thank you very much, Papa77. Gave us another super chat.
Yeah, that's a good super. Thank you very much.
Bobby's wife almost killed him with I forgot to bring that up. Bobby's wife almost killed him with a shotgun one night, but she stood there for 4 hours and couldn't pull the trigger. His alarm went off, and he woke up and saw her standing there and said, "Do it, bitch. You don't have the guts." That's right. I totally forgot to mention that because I was going to put that in my notes, and I forgot to because that was like in a documentary. But yeah, she said she had a shotgun, and she was standing there. He was sleeping.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I was going to do it, but then she, they had 2 little kids, and she's like, man, I didn't really want to do it with my other 2 kids in the room. And she's like, but I was conflicted all night about it. But yeah, he just woke up and he wasn't even upset. He's like, yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then she said in the interview, she said, I wish I'd done it. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, probably. She's like 10 women would still be alive.
Yeah.
And she feels really bad that she didn't do it.
She'd been in prison though.
But I mean, because he hadn't really. I mean, he was abusing her, but this was like the 70s and the 80s. They wouldn't give a shit about that. So it's just.
She would have done some time, but she probably would have been out pretty. Depending on if she had proof.
Yeah.
She was all beaten up. That'd be the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But when they found out that this dude was the classified ad rapist, remember how I said before he said that some of them got into it?
Yeah.
And and shit like that. He said some of them asked him, it's like, hey, do you mind if I enjoy it? I'm like, yeah, I bet they didn't say that. And he said that he made them talk to him while he was doing it.
Yeah. Kill him anywhere? They're talking about just the rapist.
The rapist. The rapes. And he said most of them just did what I asked, but those who fought him, he punched him in the gut.
Yeah.
And then, this was the quote that I was talking about earlier. Give a bitch a choice between getting dicked and getting hurt. You know what she's going to pick.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And he said, this was in his confession, I think, or on one of the interviews that they did. He said that he was doing them a favor because their sex lives with their husbands were miserable, at least according to him.
He's rationalizing that
shit.
Fucking asshole.
And he said if he hadn't just started killing, he would have just kept raping people.
Yeah.
Just forever. He just thought he was never going to get caught.
Yeah.
And he said he really liked reading about himself in the paper. He just thought it was really funny.
I've seen a lot of videos of women being attacked, security stuff, cop stuff, fucking cartel things. We're fucking cutting women's arms off and shit. Now the cartel video that I saw, that woman, she was a cartel assassin herself that they were killing. So not really normal, I would say, demographic of woman. But from what I've seen, what he says checks out. Most there's a pain pleasure principle in people. They'll do anything to avoid pain, which is just the way it is. You know what I mean? Women fold pretty quickly. They're just why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Because he's going to get what he wants out of you anyway. So scenario 1, you just give him what he wants. Scenario 2, he beats the living shit out of you, fucks you up, and then he gets what he wants out of you. So I see why they do it, but yeah, it's right compared to, or it matches up with pretty much everything that I've read and seen. Is that they'll choose getting dicked over getting fucking beat up? Who wouldn't? You know, guys will fight. Dudes have been raped too. You know. Guys will fight, but, you know, a lot of times that's gang active. They're getting gang raped. Weird shit, you know, like that. So fighting back doesn't matter. But what's funny is that the dudes shake it off easier, I think, than women, from what I've read.
Well, I don't think it's so much that. I think that dudes are just taught to tamp down their emotions and not really deal with them. So they come out in other ways.
I don't think dudes take it as seriously because well, that's not me. I'm not gay. They did that to me. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't think they see it exactly the same way. There were 3 of them. He had a gun on me, that kind of shit. You know, Panzeram was going around raping men.
Yeah, we did a show.
Making men rape each other. But psychologically, guys seem to be able to fucking shake it off a little bit better. Women, of course, you know, they're physically smaller and weaker, and then they respond to it, you know, by being afraid to fucking live in their lives afterwards. Sometimes. Depends on the woman. Depends on the situation, what happened, you know. Now they're worried about it happening again. I don't blame them.
Well, yeah. Because, like I said, it might not even be the same person. It might just be...
Yeah, be another one.
Be another one.
Evidently...
It happens.
Evidently, one of the things that I fucking read when I was reading all that fucking FBI profile and shit is that serial rapists and serial killers can identify a rape victim.
Well, they are looking for vulnerable...
There's something about a woman who's...
They can see like body language. They can see
the body language that person is vulnerable, and it turns out later that, you know, that woman had already been assaulted by somebody else, and somehow they detected it.
Well, like I said, they're predators, so they know to go after.
Yeah, prey, easy prey.
Yeah.
So they're moving and acting in a certain way that calls them.
Yeah.
Weird.
That was another thing that rape prevention cop told us too. It's like always walk down the street. Like, don't hunch over, don't make yourself smaller, don't do nothing like that. Always look super confident, like, look straight ahead, look like you know where you're going.
Yeah.
You know, look like you have a purpose. Shit like that. Like, you know, don't look like you're going to be an
like
easy
you're on the defensive.
target. Yeah. That was another thing that he said.
It's kind of like animals fucking attack wounded animals. So don't walk like a wounded animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, not victim blaming, but they're just saying that's kind of...
It's the animal kingdom.
One thing that you have to
The animal kingdom doesn't care about...
Try not to walk like that.
The animal kingdom doesn't care about feelings or morality. Wounded animals are attacked. You know. It's easy. It's an easy meal. So just keep that in mind. Predator doesn't give a shit that you were already fucking victimized. Matter of fact, that fucking makes it better. Easier. So they'll prefer that. Yeah. Makes sense.
So remember how I said that like a couple bodies weren't found until after he was caught?
Yeah.
So they actually did find a body in the Hillsborough River on November 19th, 1984. And she'd been strangled. She, I don't believe, was ever identified. But she might have been one of his victims as well. And then on November 20th, I think it was, or 22nd.
He forgot about that one?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. 1984, they found skeletal remains, and that ended up being Artis Wick, who I mentioned before. They believe that she was his first victim, but they didn't find her until after he was
He didn't confess to those, but he confessed to the other ones.
He did confess to this one.
Oh, to that one? The last
one?
Okay. Because it could be, it's plausible that maybe he had enough of them out there that he forgot.
Yeah, and honestly, like, sometimes when they catch some of these serial killers that have, like, double-digit body counts...
They don't remember them all.
Well, no, what I was going to say was that I'm actually surprised at the amount of detail that they do remember. Okay. And I think that's because they fetishize it so much that they're reliving it all the time.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's like, so that's why they
think
remember
about
all the details. That's what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, it's a big deal to them.
Yeah, they probably remember what happened.
Because it's like, shit, dude, I don't remember shit I did, like, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
like much less like 8 months ago or whatever.
Yeah, and it's not like a normal sexual encounter.
Right.
Because I can't remember everything I've done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, I don't remember shit a week later.
Yeah.
Much less.
Yeah. I was thinking about the sexual stuff.
Yeah.
For them, this is a sexual attack.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? If they have fucking 10 of them, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, a heterosexual male, he's popular, you know what I mean? Fucking his body count's going to be pretty high. You know, not killing body count, but just having sex. You can't remember everybody you dated and everybody you fooled around with, especially if you know your teenage years and your 20s and
yeah, especially if it didn't really.
Yeah, and you're in your 50s, you don't really remember all that. But a serial killer will remember who he killed, I guess, and what happened, I guess. Although I think Bundy, his memory was vague on some of the killings. I think.
Yeah.
I remember if I remember, because I read a whole book about him, and it had a lot of his quotes where they talked about it, and the person that was interviewing him, I think, was writing the book. Who'd interviewed him wrote the book that I was reading. And if I remember correctly, he had so many of them that he was vague about some of them. Some of them he remembered real well, other ones he didn't.
Which just stands to reason once you get that many killings under your belt.
Kind of like some of them were generic.
Yeah.
Other ones kind of stood out.
Yeah, that one was kind of special.
Yeah. And the generic ones kind of blended together, evidently.
Yeah. But, I don't know. So this guy, he did seem to remember most of the shit. I suspect that he probably killed more than he confessed to. But, you know. So, for a while, I mean, obviously, when they put him on trial, his defense was trying to argue that because of all his fucking head injuries, that he maybe wasn't mentally competent, or like he had some, and because of his XXY syndrome and stuff, so he had like organic things wrong with him, so he couldn't be held accountable. But the prosecution argued that it's like, well, he very clearly knew to hide what he was doing, and he seemed like he was trying to do stuff to like not get caught and all this other kind of shit. So as much as they tried to argue for, you know, all of his brain injuries being the cause of it, the jury didn't really buy it, and he ended up getting, well, he got 2 death sentences. They got overturned, but then they got reinstated, like for various just stupid reasons, you know what I mean, that aren't that interesting. He wasn't going free. The whole argument was, well, is he going to get the death penalty or is he going to get life in prison? But yeah, he did end up getting, he tried to like screw over the system, and they had to do all these trials and retrials and all this other kind of shit, and it was like this big, huge shit show. But in the end, he did actually end up getting the death penalty, and also he got 2 death sentences, 34 life sentences, and 658 years on top of that. So no, he wasn't going anyplace. However, he was on death row for a very long time. Notice he wasn't the guy that was on death row for the longest, but he was he was up there, like, for being on death row the longest, like in Florida. But finally, in April of 2019, they signed his death warrant, and he was, given the lethal injection. We did used to have the electric chair in Florida. I remember when Bundy got executed, he got electric chair, but they moved to lethal injection a little bit after that. So he Phantom asked earlier, but I think somebody already mentioned this, like what his last meal was. I always think that's really interesting, like why they always kind of put that. But yeah, roast beef, bacon, French fries, and soda. And Lisa McVey, the girl that escaped, she was front and center. She watched him get executed. She was in the front row. And they asked her about it, and she said, I wanted to look him in the eye. I wanted to be the first person that he saw. She's like, unfortunately, he didn't open his eyes. But I was like, yeah, she was just like, put me in the front row, bitch. I want to see him die. But she was there, like when he got executed.
He wouldn't open his eyes?
In 2019. Yeah, I mean, I guess. But she was like, well, I was there anyway. Like, I just thought that was kind of, I was like, man, she is so badass. But, like, she's a fucking hero, man. Like, seriously. got this motherfucker caught.
Papa says Tom's looking hungry. Yeah, I'm starting to get hungry.
Yeah, he's starting to get all fidgety.
Yeah.
I noticed he's like fidgeting back there and like.
Yeah, I want some fucking some chicken curry.
Yeah, I do too.
The show's almost over anyway.
It is. Yeah, I got to that.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we're gonna wrap it up so we can eat some curry. It is almost 10:30.
10:30.
We've been on like almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show this evening. Like I said, this was an interesting topic. Serial killers are always an interesting topic.
This is a good show.
Yeah.
This is a good case.
Yeah, and this motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right, so we will be back again as usual on Friday night for the Sidetrack show. Have some drinks, talk about whatever we feel like talking about, and so hopefully you guys can join us for that because it's always a good time. But yeah, have a good rest of your evening, you guys. Have a good day tomorrow, and we'll see you guys again on Friday night. Good night.